Remembered I should record.
Angela Linder, I'm the administrative assistant up here in Everett. I'm Lisa's counterpart. I don't teach, so my name, Angela for Angel, Marie for Mary, and my son is Isaac, and I picked it from a book of baby names because of no laughter. Christian loved that it had a heritage. Yeah. And then my other son is Caleb. Hebrew. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm Kaylee. I she her pronouns. I'm the education programs manager in Everett, so I'm running the day-to-day for camps in Everett. If you need anything, I'm here. I'm also teaching a little bit, and I end up subbing even more. So I'll do a little bit of everything. My full name is Haley Alice Werner. Haley, the spelling at least is after Haley Mills, the actress. Alice was my grandmother's name, who I never met, and Werner, it was my dad's family immigrated from Denmark, and it was originally Rasmussen. My grandfather's middle name was Werner, and they just chopped off the last one, and it stuck.
My name is Jade. I use she, her pronouns. Camps that I'm teaching go Under the Sea, doing the Jungle Book production camp, and Wicked Villains, and Annie. This is really excited. It'll be a fun time. And then my name, Jade, is based off the stone Jade. I have lots of that jewelry at home. Yeah. And then my middle name, Veronica, is my Nana's first name. So I took that from her. And then Guillory, I'm married now, so it's different. But Guillory, my original last name, I believe it's Italian. And Lang, now my last name. That's wild. Lang, I believe, because my husband is Marshallese, so his full last name is Mangan. But they shortened it to Lang because it's Langin and then Lang again. So Lang is just, that's what I got now. So it's cute. Jade Lang, I like it.
Yeah.
So, I like the 4 and 4. Yeah. It's like a good luck number with the 4. So I thought that was cool. But there you go.
4 is also my lady.
Yeah.
Hello, my full name is Portia Monet Shaw. My pronouns are she, they. My name was actually the name that won the baby game at my baby shower. Yeah, my aunt was the person who like put the name in the bucket. So I was gonna originally be Victoria, but I think Portia is very much more suited for me. Monet, my mom's name is Renee, and so she wanted something that rhymed with her name, so Portia Monet.
Love it.
And then I'm pretty sure Shaw is just a plantation last name because Shaw's on everything, like Shaw Bank, Shaw Jewelers. So I think somebody owes me some money.
Yeah.
How do you spell Portia again? Like the German carpet with an A, so Porscha.
Ah,
Not like Shakespeare. Like,
because I knew there's like a few different ways to spell it.
yeah, there are. I actually know a lot of Porsches too. So
Yours is unique.
yes, thank goodness.
Love it. All right, Marguerite, do you feel like you can go?
Yes, definitely. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for the accessibility of getting to be here virtually. I'm bummed to not be in person with you all on the mend from sickness. But my name is Marguerite. I use she, her pronouns. I'll be music directing for camps this summer, which I'm very excited for. I have a very long Shakespearean name, though it was not intended to be. So my full name is Marguerite Catherine Ophelia Ainsworth. The Marguerite comes from my mom's best friend growing up, and they thought about doing the Latin variant of Margarita because we're Mexican, but we chose the French variant of the name, so I have Marguerite, and then Catherine is my great-grandmother, and then Ophelia is after my tia, and then Ainsworth is from my dad. So that's my full name.
Love it.
Beautiful.
And I'm Janet Lynn Cole Hamilton. And Janet was from my mom's secretary was named Jan, and they were best friends. And so I got Janet to be slightly different, although she always did call me Jan. But only family gets to call me Jan, because to me, Jan is the whiny middle child in the Brady Bunch. But it means grace of God, and is a derivative of John. It's a feminine derivative of John, which was my father's first name. And my son's name is Ian, which is the Scottish version of John.
Oh.
So that's all that. Thank you for that. So we're gonna, I don't know if I should be on camera or not. Marguerite knows what I look like. Okay. We're gonna talk about cultivating empathy. What?
She just flashed the thumbs up.
She's one of those I got to watch growing up, right? So we're gonna talk about cultivating empathy, but give you a little background as to why we chose that as a goal and why we're starting with that right now. So for many years, KidStage has been involved with Schools Out Washington and a whole observation and program quality assessment initiative. And you might, if you know, depending on how long you've been with us, you might hear us say, how can you YPQ that? Youth program quality. We talk in all acronyms, but really it's this, we have a form that is an evaluation tool that we use annually to go into classes, a variety of classes. And we're not evaluating the teachers, we're evaluating the program. What is the level of engagement that's happening with our students? What opportunities are we giving our students? And then from that information, we meet as a whole staff and come to consensus about what we've seen in the various classes that we've all observed. Have we observed this? Have we not? Have we observed this only once or multiple times? We give ourselves scores and we have to agree on those scores. And then we, from that, choose goals for the upcoming window of time. Now, the last few years, we've chosen goals that we've treated as annual goals. We just do them for a year. We do the observation process again. We set new goals. We set a whopper of a goal this year that we decided needs to go beyond 25-26. And we will continue to evaluate ourselves on this particular huge goal. So let me give you the huge goal, just so you have the whole reference. Let's see, where can I find it? It is, okay. We want to improve leadership and accountability in our students, implemented through the lenses of cultivating empathy, specifically active inclusivity, monitoring goals, and further learning. That's giant and encompasses kind of everything we do. So then we planned a way that we can start to slowly roll this out with our programs, with all of our educators. We like to roll out the goal in summer camps because it is such a time of so many students in the space. Cultivating empathy in summer camp seems like a great way to start to jump in there. So we're talking about accountability and cultivating empathy. How can we be accountable ourselves as educators, that we're actively including this intentionally in our curriculum? Because we do it. We know we do it. We know it's part of what we do. But how can we be intentional about it? And then how do we give potentially an opportunity for our students to be accountable themselves in their growth things? Now, I will say that's like a nice to have in summer. Fall and beyond, we're starting to get into the self-accountability and providing students tools for that. But we can start a little bit in summer, maybe. We maybe as a group come up with how we want to start to do that. So we've got the evaluation tool we use looks at cultivating empathy through 3 different specific prompts. And when we evaluate a class and we give ourselves scores on these 4 prompts, we can score ourselves either 1, 3, or 5. 5 the best, 3, okay, 1, it's not happening. And we can't give ourselves 2s or 4s. That's just the way it works. It's just the rules. I don't make them, I just have to follow them. So I'm gonna, in a second, put 4 different prompts at the different tables, at 4 different tables. And I invite you, I think I'm changing this in midstream. If we can get some stickies and some writing implements, I'm going to invite you to circulate in the space. I was going to hang these on the wall, and then I thought, what if we just put them on the tables and then put the stickies on the tables? Does that work?
Yeah, big stickies, little stickies.
Little.
Okay, little stickies on a big sticky.
I like this.
I mean, maybe not this at all. Maybe just not stickies on the table.
Let's get a little sticky. You're about to-
Okay, so there will be a prompt, 4 different prompts on the table, and I encourage you to mingle, look at the prompts, take some stickies, write anything that comes to mind in relation to that prompt, something you already do, something you've seen someone else do, something that you wonder about, something you want to try, or even like, whoa, I never even thought about this, although I case, but you never know, and it's okay if it is. Are the directions clear as silty water?
We put the sticky, we put.
Near on the table that has the prompt.
Great, perfect.
Yes.
Yes.
And then we will probably ask for volunteers for people to sort of lead discussion for each one.
Great.
Sound good?
Yep.
Okay, so we're getting sticky notes, but you can start to view prompts. Huh?
Are we answering all the prompts?
Yes.
Oh, okay, okay,
Yes.
okay, okay.
Mingle, answer all prompts. Some table doesn't get sticky. This table gets sticky. This table gets a prompt.
Wow.
Don't give it.
I'm sorry, you guys. I want coffee.
Thank you. So we answer if we like this idea, or if we, what our thoughts are on this idea, or if.
What your thoughts are on the idea, how you do it yourself,
Oh, okay.
or something you have done,
Oh,
or
okay.
seen someone else do,
Oh, okay.
or something this sparks an idea and you're like, oh, maybe I could try this activity I always do and do it a little differently.
Very cool. Each, like for cultivating empathy in general, the assessment needs all 4 things to be happening, or we rate ourselves on all 4. Right? That's simple.
Yes.
Nathan always has the best solution. I'm just gonna photograph all the prompts. That's what I should do.
I'm just moving over to my station.
Marguerite, I'm gonna figure out how to email you the prompts. And you can put your answers in the chat.
Sounds great. I have stickies in spirit.
To the screen. You just can't see her anymore.
You're gonna get the whole curriculum, but the prompts are buried in it. I have to turn myself off, sorry. Can't look at myself while I'm doing this.
Let's go.
You got a tea then.
It's not for all.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
Delusional. You're gonna be like, you're seeing.
Right.
It's okay. I have 1 more week, guys, 1 more week.
So we're just writing down how we would incorporate this concept into our educating.
Yes.
Great.
Great.
Okay, Marguerite, that is sent.
Thank you.
Right now.
And yes, get up, move around, mingle. Yeah. Have thoughts on all the things.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so can if I see something on someone that was already right, can I like star it?
Yeah.
Sure, or +1.
Yeah. This is, that's.
Yes, and.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm
sorry, I.
Thank you. It was cute.
No. A second half, for the second half.
But it's great. It's something like, you totally, I'm gonna help them talk about it. I mean, this is kind of moving on to water. That's what, yeah. Oh, okay. I'm making, literally the person. Yeah, possibly, but on that. Yeah, you're like plus one. Plus one. All.
Mari, are you in a place to be able to take notes on this discussion when we have it?
What is the circle for? Involved. Oh, I don't know. I see.
Like I'm in the
Oh, they're different. One's a platform and one's just a paint.
For Mean Girl?
No.
Oh, Chicago.
Okay. Wow, that's cool.
Now
Yeah.
the lockers are for mean girls, right?
Yeah. That's probably one of the best things that you guys got the students.
What?
Like, oh, that's what that was.
Biggest fear this summer is actually having to write things. So it's
Great. Oh, I do, and my students, that's not how you feel. I'm like, it's okay, I'm not great at stuff. So you guys know that.
I'm not too worried about the third to fifth graders, but the sixth through 12th graders, they're gonna go ahead.
That's okay. That comes down.
Yeah,
That was my mentor in college. Did that.
They can get up on the spot.
And then we would, yeah, exactly. Get them from a little packet of compliments. And so like 2 months.
I did a compliment TARDIS for Wrinkle in Time.
Yeah.
Because it was time and I had a TARDIS,
Of course.
which is Dr. Food, so.
We had the dark kindness, and then we had, I forget what it's called, but like, if you ever said something bad about yourself, you had to write one nice thing you could do for yourself. And put it in the jar.
Nice.
So it's like, oh, I'm not very good at this game. Nope.
Well, and this is Audrey, are you doing a third and fifth?
I just thought.
I'm doing a first to third and so this one is
So-
the other.
I know
That'll be
the world of Harry Potter. But I had an adventure, have every kid, I was like, by the every meet with HR. Was it your idea?
But it doesn't turn.
Oh, Rachel Carson also did it, or Carlson.
So I shared it with, the parents over the years. Yeah.
Yeah. You write something each day, a memory each day about your camp, and you put it into your own pencil.
Very cute.
Yeah, I'll just send you my third Confed Wizards curriculum.
Lot of
Yeah,
it.
I adapted from Mari's Wizards curriculum.
This one every year.
There's like a
Do you do a sorting hat? I don't know if I'm gonna do a sorting hat, but I think I might do grouping of students and having them share about themselves and finding few traits that they share.
Yeah.
And those can be their house decorating.
Right.
Alex Robinson did a really cool craft last year. And she made like sparkly potion things. So you probably.
Oh, it is time to bring back the sparkle ball.
Yeah. So I would
It is
reach
definitely
out to
time do
Alex,
that.
cause that was such a hit.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, flat water,
This was like,
crack sweet.
oh, okay. But yeah, that potion bottle. And she
And also like you should do potion bubbles.
Exactly.
Oh,
then bring out-
that's perfect.
You
Bubbles.
can do.
Oh, no, so the way that I do it is baking soda and vinegar. So everyone gets a little vial of one of those things. And
And you do a silly little witchy chant, and then you pour it into a cauldron and it bubbles.
Oh, that's
Thank you.
Oh, you did that online too. That was the online class. That was so cool.
Oh, did I?
You did.
Cool.
Because it was like, because like, okay, you have to be at a sink or something.
Oh, okay.
So it was something everybody could do online.
Fun.
Remember we.
I don't remember anyone.
Two different questions up and we had somebody line up for it.
Oh,
So I was
no,
on
your
curriculum,
Yeah, but it started in high school.
Yeah.
Exactly. Oh, man, I don't remember.
It was a lot of work. But yeah, the coach and the big soda at dinner.
We're gonna.
Oh, wait.
I have so many guests.
Oh, you know. All right, it feels like this activity is winding down. And I guess Marguerite, when we get to a prompt that you have notes on, if they haven't been already said, you can speak up. Sound good?
Sounds great. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so Isaac is still working on that prompt. Sorry. That is not a problem, but I'm going to ask if you and Lisa wouldn't mind leading the discussion about that.
Great. Definitely, I know a lot about it.
Yay!
I'm joking.
Sweet. Well, you keep writing and let's see. Portia and Jade, would you mind leading the discussion about the prompt on your table?
Or.
So do we need any more information before we jump into that? Like what that might look like?
Yes.
Like, will they read it?
Yeah,
Share
I
with
was
the
just
idea?
about to say.
Okay.
So, read the prompt first. And then I guess read all the responses. If you want to organize the responses in any specific way, as you are. If you want to organize them first, do so. But read the prompt first and then responses, and then we'll tune into Marguerite to see if she has responses that didn't get covered. And then Haley and Angela, if you will lead the discussion for yours. And Susie and Casey, if you will lead the discussion for that one.
Yeah. That's also knowing like.
All right, so who has the one that says staff provide young people with an intentional activity where listening? Okay, go ahead. All right, start.
Staff provide young people with an intentional activity where listening, understanding, and acknowledging their personal stories, experiences, feelings, culture, or viewpoints of others is the sole focus of the activity. All right, so we've got a few question of the days. We're seeing this happens like in opening closing activities, just to like bookmark the day. Rosebud and Thorn.
Ooh.
Waterfall or bubbling brook.
Yes.
Can we hear what that one is?
So waterfall and bubbling brook is where you give them a like, how are you feeling today? Are you feeling bubbling brook? Or are you feeling waterfall? Go into the corner of the room that represents that. You can do like 4 different things, and then it sparks a conversation about how they're, how they do, or why they related to waterfall. And
You don't have like a still pond.
yeah, or still fun. You can do whatever you would like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can any words you want, but it just
2 corners or 4 corners.
Yeah,
or-
corners,
You can make them like camp related
Yeah.
if there's words that, yeah. Find a friend who has shared a similar experience with you. Make a character based on a role model or hero. For students writing their own monologues.
I have a question about the find a friend who's shared a similar experience, whoever's idea or other people. How do you think that would be facilitated?
I wrote that one, and I'm really confident about it, so I'm gonna tell you now. So what I was thinking would be like, if we were talking about, pardon me, if we're talking about like it mentioned cultures and viewpoints and things like that. So let's say, someone who has what's your favorite holiday that your family celebrates? This is just off the top of my head. And then feel free to incorporate your, your personal cultural ones or your religion if you celebrate Ramadan or you celebrate whatever it may be, and then find someone who maybe share that with you. And if not, then you have an opportunity to educate everyone else on
Yeah,
what that is.
great. So basically a question and everyone gets to answer it in front of each other.
Yes.
And then the request is find someone who's similar, or if you can't,
then
celebrate your
yes,
differences.
exactly.
Okay, cool.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Of course.
And sorry, do you mind, since I'm taking notes, Lisa, do you mind sharing the monologue one?
Yes, let's see, write their own monologues based on their lived experience. Or making a character based on a model hero. Let's see, those are ones, and then, I think that covers what we have here. Cool.
And was that model, was it based on someone they actually know?
Oh, I wrote that one. I'm thinking about scaling down to children writing about
Yeah.
the lived experiences. Like young ones may not be able to really pull out their own experience. So maybe like, I love Bluey. Bluey's my hero. Why is Bluey your hero? Blah, blah, or my mom, my grandma, and just allowing them to kind of use that.
And you can do both, like a fictional character, and then they go, what's fiction? And then, someone you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. Is that all?
That's all of them.
Awesome. Marguerite, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I had a poster share. I found this really successful with 6th through 10th grade camps last year, where we would come up with, it was kind of a reflection, wrapping up the day activity where we circled up and we had a poster that had a word on it. So it kind of gave the story or the like sharing time some structure and some parameters. And one that was really successful last year, we wrote resilience on the poster, and then students could come up and write something about how our song shows resilience or a way they've shown resilience similar to one of our characters. This was in Lin-Manuel camp, and what comes to mind is the song Breathe from In the Heights. So everyone was connecting how Breathe was a song of resilience, but also how they've shown moments of resilience in their life. So I would say a poster share activity I found really successful.
Very cool. Thank you, Marguerite. All right. The next one on my list starts with staff ask young people to discuss the causes. Casey and Susie.
Want me to read it?
I'll read it. All right. Dun, dun, dun.
Project so Marguerite can hear you.
Staff asked young people to discuss the causes or consequences of other people's emotions in response to the moment situations, past experiences, or in discussion of other actual or fictional events or experiences.
I think we have 3 types. We have skills for life, and under that we have talk about de-escalating conflict in the classroom and guide students through the process of what they're feeling and how they can share that without diminishing others. Or just discussing how to be aware of others' emotions on stage and off. And also awareness of our own emotions and how they make us feel and how they impact others. And then the other one is movement. And we have 2 here that kind of do the same, that are very similar, milling about this space and like talking about actor neutral, and then exploring the different range of emotions connected to like 1s and 5s. There's lots of different ways to do that milling activity, and how that emotion feels in your body so you can visualize it. Another activity was the statues game, where you like say an emotion and you like have to visualize it in a statue, and you kind of talk through why you chose the pose you did, etc. so forth. Then I think our last overall heading is character work. And we have lots of very actor toolkit centric topics in here. So we have teaching the plot pyramid, which is intro, rising, climax. Intro, rising, action, climax action, falling action, and resolution. We have talking about and teaching objectives. We have creating the moment before and after, and how that character feels before and after.
That would be like specifically about scene.
Yeah. And then similarly, we have scene and character analysis when we're looking at working with scripts and characters in motion. And
deciding next turns in stories, character responses by discussion, how they would feel about events.
Oh, okay. I was gonna note, a lot of those weren't about consequences of emotions. Or
that's true.
what comes after the emotion.
In the character section.
Yeah. So I just wanna like fine tune the intentionality about a lot of this is really great emotion coaching and recognition of emotion and portrayal of emotion, and connecting that to events is the part that's not fully realized yet in these responses. Marguerite, did you have something to add to that?
Yeah, I wrote down something about having a consequence conversation. I had a consequences conversation with some of my Tuesday Institute students. We did some like music small groups. And in my small group, we were singing History Has Its Eyes on You from Hamilton. And they were like bringing a lot of like smiles and joy. And I was like, okay, great. What, makes you bring that into this song specifically? Like, I want you to express how you want to express, but like, what's kind of your intentionality behind singing this very joyfully? And then it kind of swung the other way on the pendulum where it became like kind of being extra silly and extra energized and things like that. And so we had this conversation of like, what are the consequences of, we kind of gave a moment before we made kind of a map of like, here's what's happening in the story. Here's what the text is, the words they're saying. This is how the music sounds as they're saying it. So what then does that lead you to do? So we had kind of a conversation, and this is 6th through 10th to kind of give an age range. But we had a conversation about how consequence is not a bad word. And it was really interesting to hear them talk about that and to hear them kind of put that together of, oh, like consequence just kind of means the next thing that's begotten, so not that it's like something bad will happen if you do this, but what will happen if you do this. So that was a really interesting conversation. I don't know exactly how to scale it down to younger children, but through the 6th through 10th, having a conversation around that was really interesting.
I mean, I could see it working with like younger students, the teacher giving the prompt. So you're behind the piano, you're teaching Love is an Open Door. You're saying, okay, right before this, Anna just tripped and fell into an icy bath. Who knows, whatever. Like Anna just did this, Anna just did that. How does it make us sing this song differently? Does that kind of fit in? Yeah, ish.
I love how you connected it to text and to musicality. And I think that's a piece that's another layer of intentionality that is, not speaking clearly today, intentionality that is maybe slightly different than this specific prompt, but is still super awesome about emotion coaching and how you can understand how emotion is being built in the text and therefore the music as well that they have to work with. Yeah, that's really cool. All right. Which group, anybody want to add or?
It just makes me think of that scene from Mean Girls where the teachers are like, how has anybody been called these things? Right? Raise your hand. How did that make you feel? Right? Are you, and I think for littles, you can be like, like, how does it feel when someone doesn't ask you if you like want to share what you have or things like that, where you bring it, you make it smaller, but it's the same concepts at their level.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. All right. I don't know which group is which. Staff provide explicit opportunities. All right, go for it.
You can read that, I'll read those. Okay, good.
Staff provide explicit opportunities for all young people to affirm, appreciate, or show kindness to others. Staff have young people write notes to a peer who is ill, organize canned good drives for a food bank, have each young person describe strengths they appreciate in a teammate and how it helps them build on their own strengths.
Yeah, so we have a lot, it's all very similar stuff. We have providing positive notes on a performance, shout outs at the end of class, I wrote that. I say there's pros and cons with that. Because one student might not get a shout out, so it might be felt left out. So making sure everybody gets something, so that's on the teacher's responsibility to know, like, okay, that student didn't get anything. What do I have to say for that student? When a student performs, when a student performs, we'll say as a group what we liked about that performance. We have a lot of that too, sharing phrases for the students as a group. I like the jar of kindness. Everyone writes an anonymous compliment, puts it in the jar at the end of the day. Then they can read it out loud. And then compliment circle, which I think is really nice. I'm assuming that means like I give a compliment to Portia, Portia gives one to Janet, Janet gives one to Casey. That's what my interpretation was, which I think is great because then everybody has something to say. And then practice accepting positive feedback, which I think is good, and taking compliments, accepting our strengths, teach giving kind and constructive feedback on performances, which I think is really awesome. Create a classroom agreement, which is our what is that called?
Community agreement.
There you go. That allows students to acknowledge what they liked and want more of and someone's seen. I think those are all really good. The one thing I personally as a teacher get weary of with this is teaching students. We always want to teach the students like when to give this feedback and like how to give it, which is what we wrote here, which I think is good. We acknowledge that. Because it becomes one of those things of like, well, I think you should do this like this, and that'll make it better. And so it's like letting them know not to give direction, always give compliment. And that's my job as the teacher to help you grow and give direction. So making sure that we are very clear on what giving compliments and constructive feedback is. Also making sure that like I always like when I was in class, like, hey, can I give you an idea of this, like, and then I'd be like, no, I actually really like how I give it. If my teacher says something about it, then I'll change it. But being okay to say no to someone like wanting to give you something. Scene work is always hard with that because we have two ideas coming, so how to mesh it together. But yeah, I think all these were great ideas.
Yeah, and I think you hit on that, like the prompt includes the word explicit opportunities, so that you have to really specifically set them up and probably scale them in that skill of providing positive feedback. Yeah.
I think that's going to go a lot with improv classes for sure. Cause I know when we get into things for improv, we want to be like, oh, that was so cool. I like that. And playing off of each other. So
yeah. Nathan.
I just want to add on that. I think that's also be very helpful, not only in like the improv, but also like the sketch part of the older class. Because that's when they begin like writing their own stuff. And when you write something that becomes so personal, and then when anybody says anything about that, they're like, you're right, it was stupid anyway. But I just think that'd be good to be able to hone it in that skill of being able to like what I used to do a long time ago with like improv scenes, I would give a compliment and a criticism. And so like kind of like a compliment sandwich, but just more of like being able to say like, I really enjoyed what you did here. I thought this was a really creative thing that you did. I think for this moment here, I think it could benefit from like adding this or adding that. So being able to have the teacher be able to provide that criticism, but also having like a warm hug, like this is good. You made something, and that's beautiful.
Exactly.
Marguerite.
To second what has been said, finding ways to make the feedback almost like you have a rubric for it, of like keeping it very specific, of like I like the community agreement shout out, because you can say like, how were we kind today? And then you can like answer that about the next person around the circle, sort of thing. So you have something so specific that they can immediately connect to. And when I say I'm kind of thinking of the 1st through 5th grade age range with this. But I think the kind of elementary age ranges are really, really successful when you give them a specific parameter. If you say like, we're looking at like who cheated out this time, who, like, let's give them a shout out and that sort of thing. Like when you have really specific feedback, that's really successful.
Yeah. To your note about when they write something and it's so personal, but or when we put our own ideas out into the world, like we're all about creating enough courage in our students so that they are brave enough to have an idea, to take a risk, and have that idea be edited, which is or negated. And that's really, really hard, but it's so important that they can just like, okay, all right, that didn't work. Next thing, okay.
Yeah. I'm just thinking of Saturday classes. Haley knows
I'm
my
thinking of the 2-hour play that they wrote.
whoa.
all the ideas, all the ideas, because editing was not a skill we had developed yet.
Well, we did, and that's what's crazy is we edited it down a lot. Everybody's idea was there.
Yes.
In a, like you said, in a minimized thing.
Yeah.
But I was impressed. I mean, it could be a thing, that group, if they got together and created that play in real life, I think it would be really solid.
For a sequel, like
Change what our idea of the Kid Stage Originals camp is. Maybe it doesn't have to be a musical.
I don't think it does, because I'm telling you that I was impressed. I was like,
yeah, the father is like coming back and he's evil.
it's good. Good stuff.
Yeah.
All right, Angela and Haley for the last one.
Staff provide formal opportunities to learn about, discuss, and value differences, such as young people interview people from different generations, countries, or backgrounds. Staff have young people learn about each other's strengths after they take personality inventories.
So there's kind of two broad categories of this. One is like icebreaker activity, and one is like creating a product. So in terms of product is the I am poem. So allowing them kind of do an autobiographical poem, and then you have a nice poem at the end of it. And then I wrote ethnographies, which is turning interviews and dialogues into scripts. An example being like the Laramie Project or Columbine and all of those. But you can do that about anything. I've done that in college. I wrote a play about sex education, interviewing different people. It's really cool. And it can be about anything. And then games. Truth About Me is game. Cross the River is game. Circle of Shoes game. Everyone takes their shoes off. Introduce your partner game. So interviewing each other and then introducing your partner to the group. Truth About Me game. Add moments to celebrate when there are differences too. So not only finding truth, but something unique. Name game that we did today was shouted out twice. Shuffling different groups and having students share about themselves, feature not only similarities, but also unique traits.
Everyone's Lydia.
Hi. Marguerite, do you have anything to add to that last one?
Similar to the introduce your partner, I know I got a activity from Mari once, the milling in the space, where you like find someone with like the same color shirt as you, and then you ask them a question. And so I would say that's very similar to kind of the interviewing your partner, but having them begin that with a milling through the space and kind of start to see like who has something in common with you. So that was the one that came to mind for like 3rd through 5th grade.
Yeah. I am remembering, I don't remember the whole activity, Mari, but I'm pretty sure it was one you brought to a training years and years ago. Because I just remember Catherine Van Meter and I sitting over there, finding out that for both of us, we both love a Midwest version of lasagna.
Wow, what is that?
It's just lasagna, but you use cottage, it's more Midwest casserole than like traditional Italian lasagna. And that was the recipe that I grew up with, and that was the recipe you grew up with. And we're like, how did we both get this?
And you don't remember exactly how you got there?
I don't remember what the activity was, but it was cool.
Crazy, because there is an activity that's really involved where you're basically, as a group, honestly, the bigger the better, but it does get a little chaotic. You're trying to figure out the most random thing you all have in common. So it could, you know what I mean?
might have been that.
It's like you kind of whittle it down. So you generally, the strategy is like start big. Where's everyone from? Oh, what's your favorite food? Oh, we all like salty popcorn or whatever it is. Yeah, so that's like a funny one.
In little groups, or do you, as a big group, say where we all?
This one was a smaller
no,
group.
you do the whole thing from a smaller group.
Because there's also the 3 things in common one that we did in one of our trainings, which also is similar. Like you get forcibly paired or trio or whatever, and you have to find 3 things you have in common. But
The challenge is not letting it be, we're all from Washington State.
Exactly, it's gotta be
Not letting it
specific, it's
yeah.
gotta be really, really,
Yeah. I was kind of like, I mean, on the small scale, betcha never for that.
Yeah.
Because you start with, I always start with betcha never belly dance, and somebody else steps into the circle. I'm like, oh, betcha never belly danced professionally. And somebody else is like, no, I'm here. I'm like,
yeah.
okay, betcha never belly danced to a musical theater song.
Yeah. Just trying to find the ways. Theater kids would love that game.
Oh,
my
the
goodness.
opener from The Bride's Lament from Dressy Chaperone, because her name is Janet.
The
But I
Monkey on a Pedestal song.
Yeah, because my troop was called the Fuzzy Monkeys.
Oh my gosh.
I was 7 months pregnant in a bright pink feathering gown.
Incredible.
But I do think Betcha Never should maybe be seen in our classes more often, because
Yeah.
I know a truth about me happens, or at least it used to happen a lot more in my day. But that's so much more about finding similarities and like celebrating, like, oh, me too, run across the circle. But if it's Betcha Never, we're giving an opportunity for that student to be in the circle and to celebrate the difference that they wanted to celebrate.
Yeah.
Which I think is kind of cool. It's like on their terms.
It's so special.
The one thing that we kind of ran into that I think could just be mediated with like a good introduction to the game is some older kids found it as an opportunity to just trauma dump.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And I had to have some talks with parents. I'm like, hey, so is this going on at home? So it's like, things that we would feel comfortable sharing in a classroom setting, things that are fun.
Yeah.
If you want to talk about it, we can talk later.
Right. No, that's really, really fair.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, Marguerite, did I give you your chance on this one?
I'm sorry, can you ask the question again?
Did I give you your chance on this one already?
Oh, yeah. Yes. Thank you.
So I just want to make sure that Haley has enough time to go over all things some of
Yeah.
this with y'all. So to wind this down clunkily, let's do a quick reflection. If you can think of something in this realm that you think you already do well, and something that you'd like to try to grow on. But we're talking about cultivating it. So something you already think you do well, like an activity that you already use, you know how it goes. And something through this discussion that you would like to try and build on. Sound okay?
Yeah.
Do I have a volunteer for going first? Thank you, Jade.
I feel like I do well with the affirmations and the what is this called? The compliments. Oh my goodness. I feel like I do well with making sure that all the students feel like they are seen and that they did something very well from all their students and myself. I feel like the consequences one is something that I don't really do that. So I guess that's something I'll start to try to implement. Because I was like, well, I don't even know how to answer this question because this doesn't make sense to me. So I will try to maybe look more into that or get some more information on how to add that.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you. Which way would you like it to go? Towards Portia, towards Haley?
That way.
Great. And then Marguerite, you'll be after Portia.
I actually have a similar answer. I feel like I do really well with the integration of compliments and shout outs, and also highlighting differences with check-ins and how everyone's feeling at the beginning of class. I feel like I do really well with that, but I do I was unable to answer the consequence question, but I feel like you gave a really good answer. You can't even see me. I feel like you gave a really good, helpful answer that was helpful for me to think about.
For sure.
So I'm very glad that I heard that. So that's what I think I would like to grow on.
Cool. Thanks, Portia.
Awesome. Thanks, Portia. Yeah, I would say that something that I feel strong, that I do well in classes is kind of the emotion coaching and leading through consequences and moment before and connecting characters to their own experiences in a way. But I think something that I can grow on is finding those formal opportunities to kind of celebrate our differences and share more about ourselves. I think we always kind of go through question, at least in my classes, we start question of the day and it's very how are you feeling at this moment, but not so much kind of getting to know one another. So I think that's something that I'm going to incorporate more, where we kind of keep building that trust and building that community and learning more about one another.
I'm gonna echo Marguerite because I feel like I do the compliments really well. I'm excited about tying in the consequences into text and into music. And also for younger students, like it's starting with emotion coaching. Oh, you're feeling this, and the consequence is that this whole activity is less fun for you. So how can we like switch that up? But I want to get more into, oh my gosh, my brain is blanking. What is yours?
Student what?
What was your prompt? And I was like, I wanted to
To provide young people with intentional activity.
Yeah, to really acknowledge differences. Because I don't want my questions of the day to be generic. Yeah, I want them to be intentional.
I've always done really well on like the bet you never or the cross the line type of activities, but yeah, I think really like making sure that the question of the day is really targeted towards celebrating differences, like figuring that out, or you like that's something that I could do a lot better.
I think I'm good with intentional activities for students to share. What I'm excited to use that I never even thought about until today, Marguerite, was destigmatizing the word consequence.
Yeah.
And just being like, it's just
Cause and
Outcome.
it's just the outcome. So I'm excited to use that and like talk about it like in lots of
For me, it's a lot about like how people are acting in the lobby. So like if students are nervous and I pair them with a student that's already done our camps before, there's a lot of like empathy shown where kids are really nervous. I've had kids unprompted go to each other and be like, I was nervous before, but it was really fun. So like with these tools, they'll also lead, which is really cool.
That's what we want. Accountability and leadership.
Exactly. And then I guess, yeah, the consequence part is more like, okay, are you wanting, like, is this how you want to be treated if people are getting a little spicy in the lobby, things of that nature? But, yeah.
Yeah, I feel pretty good about the consequences part of it. I like to say we all make choices, and and so do our characters, and maybe this is happening because of this, or why do you think that this choice led to this, and things like that. I feel good about that. Something I haven't had much opportunity to do, and maybe that's my own fault, is give the kids opportunities to compliment each other. Like I feel pretty good about like positive reinforcements, but I'm not giving opportunity to have them explore that with each other, so that can be some.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I kind of feel like I'm being pretty similar to Marguerite, where I feel pretty confident in doing the consequences, like emotions thing, because I think that's something that kind of naturally comes up, especially plot-wise, working with little kids, because that's the way they know how to create a plot, is when you're like, okay, so he destroyed your house. How does that make your character feel?
Yes.
How are they going to act on that feeling?
Yes.
Like, what's the consequence? And so I think that's something I'm pretty experienced in. I think it can expand more into also real life and working through and then interrelating those two. That like characters aren't just like real people. And then something I kind of want to improve on is bringing opportunities for like sharing and bringing your individual cultural and just emotional and viewpoint to places other than just the opening or closing questions. I think that's usually the place I kind of put that in, and maybe just building more time to share about the character you created, or why you did this craft this way, or like meaning of specific words. I think that's something I could expand more.
Yeah.
I'd like to agree with like the consequence section. I feel like with improv, everything is like reacting to what's happening right now. So there's immediate consequences of like something just happened. I'm reacting to that. This is the consequence of that, and that all like leads together. I also think I'm pretty strong on like giving compliments and giving like the criticisms and being able to help them give each other those compliments and criticisms. I think the biggest thing that I have not focused on is probably like discussing like emotions of like how are we feeling today. I feel like I'm more focused on like the getting to know one another and like what do you do differently? Like what's your background? But I haven't really focused too much on the emotional aspect of it.
Fast.
Putting us to like, what are we even absorbing?
Yeah, absorbing. That's fine.
I feel like passing. How about you? Yeah.
Aw. Could you remind me of the question? I was writing a bunch of logistic notes.
I'm so sorry. What something in this realm that you feel that you're already good at, and something you want to like grow in?
Yeah, I feel like I am very strong with the ones that are right here. The getting to know each other, building a community, finding relationships, breaking up the group, and like, hey, I'm finding someone new I haven't worked with yet, and I'm gonna find a way to get along with them or create something with them. I would love to continue growing in creating material based on their experiences. That's not something I've had a lot of opportunity to do with Kid Stage, because I do love working with the young, the third through fifth and all of that, and maybe they're not always in a place to do devised theater.
Or how do we scale it down so that it looks successful? What does that look successful
Exactly, in
at
what
that
time
age?
frame.
I feel like Taylor Swift camps could be so cool because she speaks from her own experience.
We can try. I could pick songs.
Yeah.
I could do it, but the same kids signed up again.
I
can't do it. Still going.
All right. So let's take a 5-minute bio break and come back and do some summer logistics.
Yeah.
And then-
Right, thank you, bye.
Oh, but
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, thank you, Five.
I love
Okay, great.
Yeah, I do. Although I'm very grateful to. Yes.
Type food, we just did the big thing on about cultivating empathy. Do we want to learn to excited because we have some new shit?
Like, do you want to change the lead it?
I don't know, maybe before. No, I think that we want to walk all spaces.
You're tired.
Just, I know where the bathrooms are. They know where the first aid kit is.
No, we're all the person.
That's why I was like,
They know
I'm like, involve our instructors, and then I'm like, respect that she's coming off with another job.
just eat all the oranges.
Good, gee, you should.
No, I
want something more substantial.
These oranges are.
Great.
They're very good. Plus, I had that meat, the precision. I had that.
Okay.
Then I had some crackers, but I don't want to eat. I'm gonna go home and go like that.
Yeah, I think a lot going on next week.
Boy, more developed.
So I'm gonna try.
Why not?
Yeah. Is there? What are the other?
Marguerite!
Oh yeah. So
Yes,
no,
I love you.
I love you as well.
We just said prosciutto and
Prosciutto if it's a boy.
Sure. More developed as a girl. Oh sure. Well, it is a boy, so it's prosciutto. There you
Okay.
go.
Are you going as a family, or have you gone to see the movie Elio?
No, it's too scary for Elio.
Okay.
And he's our oldest. Janet.
Yes.
If you have time at any point today, during or after the training, Lydia
Marguerite, A, you know what I look like, and B,
Yes.
this is all stuff you know. So
Excellent.
you're good.
Okay. Do do you want me to like hang out? Sorry to interrupt.
If you want to, it's just
Okay, great.
do you know what an incident report form is? Like you're
I
good.
believe so. Thanks. Cool. I'll just be around.
Okay. Hi, should we get started on logistics?
We're
Moving
back.
fast? Yes. Hi, I'm Haley. I'm still Haley. All the logistics stuff that you've done, cancer classes with us before, it's gonna be a lot of review, or very slight modifications that if you're new to us, this might be like a little handy introduction, just about planning your classes, how the days are gonna go in case of emergency, blah, 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 all that really good fun stuff. So the first thing we're gonna do, aiming about 2 weeks out, I sent an email already to our first week camp, which is crazy, and I'm gonna be sending one today or tomorrow to starting our second week camp, but is starting to get your curriculum together and sending it over to us. Is that me and Janet going through every single line and being like, wow, Nathan really doesn't know how to do icebreakers on day 3 of camp? No. That is like, okay, you have thought about your camp, you have a plan, you have an overall goal, you have an overall arc. If you have questions, how can we help you? If, oh, you're doing this song and you need sheet music, that's great. I will get that for you. You're doing a craft with pipe cleaners, fantastic. I will get you pipe cleaners. It is so we can help you and support you. And on the very odd occasions, especially with like Lynn and Will camps, if we need to hit Spotify 1 or 2 lyrics, which I don't like doing, but sometimes we do because we have some pretty young students in our camps. That's just something that I can help you out with. Never anything crazy. Just if you're not doing Spring Awakening, we're probably good. Yeah, and then any other supplies you need, along with the email I sent out, there's a supply request form that's just, I'm doing this craft, here's the sheet music I already have, or can you get me the sheet music and print it out, or I need this very weird specific craft thing, please just send me a link or send me the information. Please do not buy the stuff yourself. We have budget for it. We never hit the budget. Please let me buy pipe things for you. If you end up buying them, please save the receipt and just hand them to me, we'll take care of it. That also in the email includes the schedule for, okay, you're teaching at camp the week 1. It is 9 to 12. This is your co-teacher. I put in a draft of who the apprentices are. Those might change in the next week or so because we have our apprentice training starting on Monday. But generally, knowing if you have an apprentice or not and how you can include them. Their contact information is there as well. At the beginning of camp, oh,
I'm sorry, what's an apprentice?
What an amazing question. Great if you were an apprentice, because quite a lot of you. Yeah. So our apprentices is our favorite. We have young adults, young professionals that are like 18 to 22, and they are with us to shadow, support, and then teach to learn how to become theater teaching rights themselves. So we pair them with our camps at the beginning of summer. A lot of times they are there to assist if someone needs to go to the bathroom, if someone needs a Band-Aid. You need to step out and you can run things, be a model student when you're teaching music and choreography. Then to start leading activities, leading more and more activities, leading the whole day. And at the end of summer, they have full camp, they're running by themselves, and you as the instructors are there to support them.
Like your last camp, Isaac, greatest show.
Yeah.
Very well might have an apprentice doing it as their practicum.
Okay.
Yes, so
Yeah,
We said we don't have music instruction apprentices.
Yeah, so you'll still be the music instructor and then you'll be like collaborating with the apprentice and the other.
Okay. And the apprentice would run that one too.
yes, they are responsible for the curriculum for that one. They're
Lead the collaboration with you as a co-instructor.
Yeah, so for greatest show, they'll be like, hey, I think I want to do this song and this song. What do you think? Here's how I think you can split it up or cut it down. Blah blah blah. Yeah, and you go like, yeah,
Horrible idea.
Yeah, I hate that song, or sounds good, let's do it. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, please stop me if you have questions. I'm talking very fast. Portia, hi.
Hi. I've been having issues with my email and I didn't receive that email. Can you
Yeah.
resend it to me?
I absolutely can. I'm gonna send at the end. I check what email is best for you.
Perfect.
I think I owe you a name tag too. Yeah, so you are getting, if you ordered a t-shirt, we got the t-shirts in, we will get those to you. We also get a name tag. The name tags are more important for summer than if you're with us, maybe with us in the school year, because we have people going in and out of the buildings a lot of time. Sometimes they work with us. Sometimes it's people who are curious what's in the building there, or they're trying to go to the show at EPAC and they're like, "Wow, this is the theater. Color Purple must be in here," and it's not. So yeah, please let us so we know who you are. Kid Stage shirts on the first and last day. This great. If you don't have one, or a dog ate all of them, please let me know. We have good extras that can get you that. If same with your name tag, if you lose it, if the dog eats it, I make them in Microsoft Word. It's not a big deal. I will get you a new name tag. Yeah, it's just for safety. And then we have staff on site that are here to help you. I, as the manager for this and the lead person for Everett, so I am running a lot of the day-to-day for Everett summer camps. My counterpart, Blair, is doing the same thing over there. And then we have Casey and Ayana who are on site quite a bit. Angela's going to be on site a bit. And then it goes back and forth between locations. Any of us can help you. Please let us know how we can help you. A lot of times me or Casey are available if you need extra hands in the classroom for a little bit, whether you gotta go to the bathroom, please take care of yourself, or this one student is giving me a migraine, can you please be a little bit extra support, and we'll talk about it at the end of class. We are here to help you, no judgment. Please talk to us. We maybe don't know if you need help if you don't talk to us, because there's a lot of kids and there's a lot going on. Cool. For all of the camps for Everett are going to be in this building or across the street at the Everett Performing Arts Center. There's one classroom in the Anderson room that we have a lot more access to this year than in past years because we do not have summer stock this year. We have Summer Independent, which is in this space, but we also have a couple other performance opportunities. So at the end of camps every day, please just make sure to return to space to neutral. If you have, hey, we have a craft drawing on this table here, that's totally fine. Just maybe, clean up whatever you can, returning the space to neutral as much as possible. So it can be a rehearsal space at the end of the day or the evening. It's really, really helpful. Well, I think that's just about it. Any supplies you might need, craft supplies, copy machine, those are all going to be in this building and you can help you out with that. Those are all upstairs. At least one staff member, which can include an apprentice, be in the building when camps are taking place. That can be pretty simple. Basically, if you are in this building or if you are in the Anderson room, they can't just be the children and no adults there. Please have either an apprentice or you or everybody there. Or if you all need to leave, I don't know why, for whatever reason, please find a staff member to take over for you, just as a matter of safety. There is a box office at EPAC as well. They are doing their jobs. Sometimes they're doing the matinee show. Please try to be respectful of volume, keeping the door closed if you can, making sure the music isn't blasted all the way up to the highest volume, and just being respectful of their space. They will tell us if they're unhappy, and we want to be very nice to them. Okay, parking. Street parking is available, but it's timed during the weekdays. Anyone who's done summer with us, they do ticket. So you have a better shot at going more residential, just a couple blocks up. Basically past Bucky's, the auto shop, and go down. That's going to be less likely to be ticketed because it's residential. Or you can get a parking pass in Erica, and that's going to be the Lockport lot over north of here there. If you have questions or sometimes you go to I need to move by car, that's totally fine. Please just tell us so we don't see you driving away. The whole thing is just talk to us. That's a big thing. Okay. Emergencies. Again, I'm running through this very fast. If you have questions, please shout them. In every classroom, there's going to be a red folder, usually in a folder on the door or next to the piano, somewhere very central and easy. It'll be like emergency folder. There's a big red folder in it. That has any students in that classroom's name, contact information, medical information, if the parent provided us with anything like that. So in case of emergency, please grab that folder, head on your way out. There's also going to be an attendance sheet in there. So just checking off Monday. Okay, everyone's here. I don't have 10 absences that Haley checked them in at the door, and now where did they all go? Also, sometimes kids wander into the wrong classroom. You'd be shocked how much that happens. They see a line, and they go. Especially the young kids. So we try to color code their name tags so it's easy to catch at a glance, but it does happen. Usually they just need to go upstairs and downstairs in the building. Nothing crazy, but it does help, and you can help us out with that by just doing a really quick roll. You can delegate that to an apprentice. It does not have to be a big formal thing. Incident report form. So in case, yes.
Maybe you're gonna cover this, but I'm curious what constitutes an emergency, and if you're leaving the space, where are you going?
Yes. So so constituting an emergency, I'm thinking things like fire alarm, anything that we need to evacuate the building, or we're gonna all line up at the fountain right outside. So that is hung orderly, meet there, because that's a very central location for all of us.
And then once you're there, you're doing attendance.
Yes, we're doing attendance, staff will be out there, we will also be helping you out with that. Excuse me. Yeah, so that is kind of emergency, I'm thinking where you grab the folder and you need to head out. In case of like small scale emergency, say Ayana is playing tag real hard on break, she scrapes her knee up pretty bad, she needs a Band-Aid, happens all the time, it's okay. First step is just first aid. If you are not comfortable with that, please let us know. I'm happy to do a Band-Aid. And taking care of that. Then we have an incident report form. This is just the legal form. It's very quick to fill out. We are happy to fill it out with you. Name, student name, what happened, what did you do? I was playing tag and trips, scraped her knee. Haley gave her a couple Band-Aids and an ice pack, and Ayana was on her merry way. At the end of the day, when Ayana's mom is coming to pick her up, we'll let mom know, hey, Ayana scraped her knee playing tag today. She gave her some Band-Aids, she's doing all right. Or if we don't catch the adult at checkout, a lot of times older kids, we never see the adult. It runs across the street, get in the car, and it goes away. We'll just give them a call or phone number or an email, and look, we're happy to facilitate that. Staff can do a lot of those parent conversations. Students will sometimes they'll get a hangnail or their fall and then get right back up and they're okay. Emotional support Band-Aids and ice packs are very fine. Sometimes they get you a long way. Those do not require an incident report form. If a kid has a cut from home and they've been picking at it and they need a new Band-Aid, you don't need to fill out a form for that. If it's an injury that happened on site, yes form. I say when in doubt, do a form, and we just don't have to submit it if it's things like a hangnail. But yeah, we are happy to do that, and please let us know if something like that happens. We're present during breaks outside, but sometimes things happen. Please just talk to us. It's a little wild if we are going through the whole day. Wow, today was great, and then I got my hands me 8 forms of yes, there was a mass student pile up and dance, and oh God, I didn't know about that.
Mass Band-Aid casualty.
Exactly. Again, please talk to us. We are no longer doing any sort of COVID checks or vaccination checks. Masks are optional for students and staff. If you are getting over a cold, wear a mask. If you need to call out sick, call out sick. We can handle it. If you notice a student is visibly sick, please talk to us. We can call home. That rarely happens, but it does sometimes happen. Yeah, I'm happy to be the judgment call home, maybe you to pick up your kid. If for any reason you are running late, if you are sick, if you have a flat tire or anything like that that's going to impede your ability to get there on short notice, please text us. I know for me at least, text is the fastest way to get a hold of me. If anyone doesn't have my phone number, I will give it to you right now if you want it. Maybe? Yes. Okay. My phone number is 408. Oh, that's okay. I will also email this out and I include it on signatures to staff if I can. But my phone number is 408 390 5896. 408 390 5896. Please text me or call me if you wake up one day and you're like, I have food poisoning or something. Yeah, that's a great way to get a hold of me. Or if you're downstairs and I'm across the street or something, and you're like, Haley, I need markers right now.
I do that all the time.
Yes, that's okay. Please, that's a great way to get a hold of me. Some weeks I am teaching, some weeks Casey is teaching. We will let you know in advance. If there's an emergency, you can please still talk to us, but there might be a cool. For just really quick how the day goes, and then we can do a lap around the building for anyone who's maybe new and wants to see where bathrooms in the classroom and birthday fits on. So check-in, classroom day break and the checkout is kind of the general flow. We have half day and all day camps, but they all follow the same model. Check-in always happens in the plaza outside. That is, students get their name tags. They see their name tag. That's how we know they got there. We check them in our system. That we go, okay, Ayana's here today. Ayana got her name. And we then line them up for their class. Might be like Under the Sea, improv, Taylor Swift. They line up. We double check kind of, okay, you look like you're in the right place. Purple name tags all down the line. Then we go off to their classrooms. Parents might stick around and ask questions. You're welcome to be present. Talk to parents. If you are like, I need to prep this right now, that's totally okay. In terms of just like when you clock in, the expectation is that you're ready to teach by the time the class starts. We love if you're there out front, but that is not required. Yeah.
On first day camp, if we have a parent that is like very adamant of wanting to see the space
Yeah.
of where their child is going to be, what do we do?
So send them to us. That is not for you. We do not have parents in the classrooms. The only exception to that is I've had like 2 exceptions. One, the child was deaf and the parent was an interpreter with sign language. And or if the child has extreme behavioral issues and needs a one-on-one aid, again, that rarely happens. But those are the only exceptions. They can't speak. Janet.
Well, I was just gonna say that sometimes if they tell us early enough, rather than when you're taking the class, that we can use our discretion to give them a tour of the room, you know, as a family before it's time for class to start, or allow them to accompany the class and then tell them, here it is, and now you have us.
Yeah,
just tell them that they can follow the class in, and then the class will change.
If they want to join for the drop off to the classroom instead of just at our front door, that's okay. Sometimes with the little kids, some first day tears happen. It's not about you. It's that it's a big scary thing. It's the first day of school.
But you as instructors can let that be our staff discretion. You don't have to make that.
No, yeah. Anything that's like parent wanting a special thing, or we can probably handle that. And yeah, if class doesn't start for 10 minutes, like, hey, can I see the space really quick? You can pop your head in, say, okay, this is this. Now we need to get out and get the kids started. Breaks are weather permitting. We take them out in a plaza. It's nice to get some sunshine. We like to play music. Every once in a while we'll have like hula hoops or bubbles or something. And it's a cute thing. Kids are responsible. Oh yes, kids are responsible for bringing their own snacks. Please, no nuts. We actually have staff that have some pretty severe nut allergies, so if nothing else, please don't bring nuts. That includes things like Nutella, which you'd be shocked how many people don't know that that's a nut. It's the first thing. I know, but you'd be shocked. And please be mindful, you know, if you see someone who has, you know, like a big peanut butter sandwich, like, hey, either if you don't have anyone with severe allergy, maybe you're gonna eat that far away, and then wash your hands because you need to eat something, or maybe save that for later. If there are any students that you have in your class that have like a severe allergy, a severe behavioral issue, or something that the parent told us ahead of time, we can tell you. Just as something, you know, if there's an EpiPen or something like that, we are allowed to, you know, if you know how to use an EpiPen, that's awesome. But we can handle all of that, but also just so you're aware, just in case anything happens. So that's kind of breaks. Yes.
If we do see a student that has something like a peanut butter sandwich, and we tell them not to eat it, we just don't. Do we have?
We do have backup snacks. Yes, we always have snacks in case of emergency, also for you guys because you know get for yourself. But they have nut-free, gluten-free options. All of that. Those are going to be in the cafe room. It's just off the lobby. There's always going to be a kid. I don't have a snack. Sometimes it's just they don't like their snack. Exactly. But a lot of times, you know, mom didn't actually pack them a snack. Give them a granola bar. They can go on their merry way.
And then let us have a conversation with the family. Hey,
hey,
snack. Or by the way, your child, are you having snack? Oh yes. Well, your kid's eating our snack.
Yeah. Sometimes they like our snack better. So, anyways, whatever the most popular one is, I don't buy it the next year. There's no pirate booty. Sorry. I'm sorry, they ate it all. Okay. Okay, so break. Yeah, enjoy your snack break. Also, please do enjoy your break. If you're taking a full day camp, that is 9:30 to 3:30. There's 30-minute lunch in between or in the middle of the day. That's your lunch too. Please eat your lunch. We as staff are there to supervise them when you are on your break. You are not, you know, we want you to feel at 100% capacity or as much as you can. Please take care of yourself. If something like that didn't happen, or like you're like, hey, something came up, I had to work all through this, please let us know. That's a great time for maybe your apprentice leaves like the first 30 minutes after break and they are doing some icebreaker games or we're stepping in.
Because also just remember, apprentices and teachers both are not paid for the lunch break.
No, it is a 30-minute unpaid lunch. Yeah, please take your lunch.
And if there's something that's interfering with you taking it, that is,
yes,
then we need to know that and
yes, please. Again, please talk to us. We value your time as much as we are aware of what's happening. If we do not see something, please tell us. Check out at the end of the day is kind of the opposite of check-in. The student said, okay, I see my grown-up, hand us their name tag, and that's when we know they got home safe. Please, you know, as much as we can, a lot of times this ends up being staff apprentices, but if teachers are present, Or if you don't have an apprentice, make sure the child is not just running into the street. Like, I see a car that's great, my mom has a great car, and then they run into the street, not their car. Please just be mindful that, okay, you're running to someone you know. Older kids are generally, we're a little less worried about them running off. With like, we have a K through 12th grade camp, some of them are driving. But please be, alert at least. We are there as well. Checkout time is also a great time for if you have to check in with anybody, if we have to check in with anybody about either injury first aid or behavior things that came up. If we're doing frozen camp and we think everyone should wear blue, the next day, hey, if you have a blue shirt tomorrow, wear it, but it's not a big deal. For final sharings, costumes are never required. Students sometimes really want to dress up. Go for it. Just nothing that's in theater movements, no like full face screen masks, then insane. We try to shoot for 15 minutes per class as the final sharing, and this is really just an informal opportunity to share what you've been working on. These are the songs we've learned. This is our favorite game, our favorite warm-up, a scene that we wrote. Here's the character I created. And just an opportunity to literally just show what you've been working on. It's very process over product. And it's okay, sometimes we need to move the goalpost. I had 5 songs planned, we got through 2. That's okay. Moving the goalpost and showing just this is a day in the life is fabulous. Generally shooting for under 15 is better than shooting for over 15. Things run late, one person's parent is running late, so we're stopping to wait for them. We always give, staff, usually me, is given some sort of spiel of, here's what we worked on, here's what's coming up at the theater. And then you might be like, oh my gosh, this camp was so fun, you learned 4 Lin-Manuel Miranda songs, so I know a lot, but you know what I mean. Just talking about what we did, and the teachers love to hear that, the parents love to hear that as well. Yeah, I think that's about it. Mari has talked to you all about payments and all of that. You should all be onboarded about that. If you have any questions, please reach out to Mari or me again if you can direct the question.
And thank you for doing the mandatory reporting child abuse training. Sorry that it's called mandatory reporting, but you're not a mandatory reporter.
Yes.
But y'all, awesome.
Yes. Oh, speaking of that, so in that training, we took it as well. The people that you might report to would be Casey and me or Janet. Or if there's a staff member that is there or you're comfortable talking to, here are those people for you.
And Ayana found some great resources, just like the numbers that you would call if you felt like you yourself wanted to also do the reporting, which again you learned is totally okay, up to you. Maybe you already have printed and upstairs. But let's do that before summer. Okay, that'd be awesome. So you can always just like run upstairs and know that you have those resources up there.
Yeah, definitely. We have a couple things with Cocoon House and Northwest Justice Project in the lobby as well. Resources we can try to make available. Any other resources, things like the Teachers Lounge that has a bunch of sample curriculums and sheet music. Those, I believe have been sent out to you, but I will continue sending them out with those weekly, hey, your camp's in 2 weeks.
If you have any feedback on that Teachers Lounge, it is always a work in progress. So we'd love for people to add activities to the activity index.
Yes.
And to give feedback about this makes no sense or this is outdated. Because it's kind of just a labor of love and trying to pull it together every year.
Yeah.
And I'm working on a template to create learning plans for people who that would be helpful for.
Yeah, and yeah, however you formulate your learning plans is totally fine with us. It can be bullet points, it could be written in a journal and send me a picture, it can be a color-coded spreadsheet. Whatever your brain works, whatever way your brain works is great for us. It's so we can help you kind of get an idea of what you're doing and prepare supplies for you. That's a lot of information. Does anyone have any questions on that before we kind of walk through the space very quickly? Yeah.
Sorry, I think this just blanked over me, but how much in advance do you want the lesson plan?
About a week-ish is great. I'm very flexible. Again, this is not me going in and critiquing every single line of your learning plan. It's okay. Nathan's not just winging it.
My third day icebreaker isn't written down.
Exactly. How could we? This is just kind of knowing that, especially if you need any supplies, if you need sheet music that maybe we don't have, I need to track it down in the right key. That's good. If you want to do lyric sheets, generally, any musical theater camp, 5th grade and younger, they're not great with sheet music. Some of them aren't good with lyric sheets, and that's okay. But, just kind of making sure we have the right things prepared.
Can we save the walkthrough to the end?
Yes, I went as fast as I could.
Great.
Well, and it's great feedback for me to make the next training, like, try to do the cultivating empathy faster. That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But yeah, if you have any questions about that, if you're like, hey, can you talk me through this again? Please let me know. Also, just the first couple days of camp, especially if you're new with us, get a feel for it, ask questions, find someone who's been here a while and follow them a little bit, maybe whether that be a co-teacher or some of our apprentices have been here since they were children. Kylie Anderson knows where the bathroom is. Okay. Yeah.
Some of our teachers have been with us since they were children.
Okay.
If you don't know where the bathroom is,
We're lost.
we're in trouble.
I spoke so long.
All right, so in a second, I'm gonna, once I introduce you, I'm gonna sit down at the keyboard so that I can like move the slide along. And hopefully that will work.
You can play something as well.
Definitely not I. Hello, okay, so rough segue. We every year seem to attract more and more neurodivergent youth into our programs because we are a great inclusive program and we're very excited about that. And we acknowledge that we need more tools in order to support those students and our learning population in general. So in reaching out to people we knew, I knew Megan Ralph socially and was like, oh wait, she's a special ed teacher. She knows things. She knows things. Yay.
So, all the answers, but I know a lot of things.
Renton School District?
Renton School District.
5 years?
6 years. I'm just finishing up year 6 with special education. I taught general education before that for a year. So
Sweet.
year 7 already.
Wow.
Right.
Yay.
All right. So I'm gonna pull up the PowerPoint and
Absolutely.
get out of the way.
Works. I'm gonna pass it. Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
So I need lots of copies and I will send.
Oh, I'm gonna turn off my screen, Marguerite, and well, I'm gonna turn off my thing and share the screen.
I'll explain what is this kind of. You need help passing things out. That would be helpful if y'all should.
Jane hasn't slept.
She's like, that's fine, I can help.
Okay, I will not be there, but now it's hot. Yeah, no worries, she's doing this. Oh, yeah. In a different state, she's getting married.
I know the show on Wednesday and then having one day and then getting married on Friday and then having a matinee. That's gonna be so fun.
So fun.
We all were like, oh, it's gonna be a fun show that day.
Okay, so wait, you are married or?
So I'm legally married.
Ah.
Legally, we are married, but the big wedding is in August.
That's what I thought. Okay, that's very cool.
Illegally married.
It's gonna be a time.
Yeah.
Don't know. You know, all the minor.
You're welcome.
I think that's still very, very quick.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's true.
Okay, so little disclaimer, I kind of gave you my one of, I don't have all the answers, but I have strategies for you all. But the other one is that when de-escalating a student, we as the de-escalator have to be regulated ourselves. It does not work if we are regulated. If we're dysregulated, they're dysregulated, everyone's dysregulated, it never works out. My little disclaimer. Very quickly, I'm going to introduce myself a little bit more. Janet kind of introduced me, but and then we're going to go through some preemptive strategies, some de-escalation strategies, best practices, and then I'm going to throw some scenarios at you to work through, and we can talk through them, and then I'll leave some time at the end to ask questions. Woohoo! Yeah. So as Janet mentioned, I'm a special education teacher. I've taught special education at the elementary level for 6 years now. I taught elementary, third, and then I did a second and third split the year before that. So I'm 7 years in now, and I use these strategies a lot on a regular basis within my own work within the schools, which sounds like you all have a very similar structure to all of us. So that is super awesome. I love to hear.
So some preemptive strategies that are very important, especially with working with our students that have neurodivergency, is establishing routines, which sounds like it's great. We have a morning, like, you know, routine, break routine, exit routine, but even routine within the classroom. This is the first step usually in dysregulation with our kiddos with neurodivergency. They know what to expect outside of our classrooms. We come into our classrooms that we don't have established routines. It's just automatic dysregulation for them. So establishing routines, establishing norms, that's a very important thing. We try and stick to 5. And so like if it's 5 classroom rules or 5 safety, like whatever you make it out to be.
And I'm just gonna jump in. Our community agreement is 4.
Yes.
Be safe,
Yeah.
be brave, be kind, have fun.
So that's perfect.
And
yeah. So those work great. Giving kids input as much into them as possible. Sometimes we, like, I know you have the 4 set already, but sometimes we have 4 at our school and then each classroom has 5 within.
Oh, okay.
So we, like, so it's like, so we're like practice safety, act responsibly with both, others show respect. And then within the classroom, what does that look like?
Yeah.
So then teachers will say, okay, this is what this looks like in my space. This is what it looks like in my classroom, because my classroom is a different space. Like every space has its own. So what that looks like for you in the group. Student voice is the biggest thing.
Yep.
I can't say it enough. They will not engage if they do not get some kind of say in something like that. So I can't say that enough. So giving input as much as you can into routines, into norms, any of those things. Anyone who is disengaged, can you find a job for them to do? Maybe. How can we get them engaged into that space? So just thinking about that. So it's a little bit different in the schools than it would be here for you all, but just thinking about that, how, and you have to start day 1. Day 1, if you change it on them, that does not go well for them. So start on day 1, know what you want to do. Yes, you can flex a little bit. I'm not saying it has to be set in stone, but just the routines as much as you can for them. Having it even helps that emotional regulation.
Does something I do in my classroom with my handy dandy whiteboard that I bought
love
is
that.
I write down what we're doing each day and talk through
That
it.
is so
Is that helpful?
helpful.
Because
Agendas
it changes.
are so helpful.
Yeah.
Schedules
Okay.
are so
Okay.
helpful.
Yeah.
Referring back to it is so helpful.
Yes. Like now we're moving
especially-
on to this, and
Yes.
this is okay.
And
Cool.
natural, I think I have it in here as the de-escalation strategy, or maybe I put it on your little cheat sheet. Is like natural break points. Like, okay, we finished this. Now let's go on to this. Like giving them that transition warning. If we're jumping from singing a song to reading a book quietly, that is a huge emotional regulation difference for kiddos that may need a couple extra minutes to like, okay, I follow this simulation of music. Now I'm going to go read quietly. Just how can we give that moment of like, even for you as the adult, right? We run around crazy.
Yeah.
I do it too, all day long. So real. But how do we give ourselves that moment to transition too, right? Because we're up here with our escalation. We're running around busy doing all these things. We have all this stuff to fit in and only this much time. But also remembering that we're humans, right? Using the bathroom, having a snack. How do we do that for our kiddos too? Because they need that too. They get exhausted. They have lots of energy, but they do get exhausted. And when the exhaustion comes more of the So when behaviors are minor, so thinking about like that kiddo that is talking over across the room. Simple things such as physical proximity. Just walk over and stand next to them. If you create a silent signal with your group, that has to be established before you get to this point, because once they're escalated, there is no reintroducing something, if that makes sense. So if you have a silent signal, like if it's you just put your hand up and like they know that that means they should stop talking or they should walk to the side of the room or whatever it shall be that you establish within your classroom, they know that that is what they are supposed to do. Usually we start with something like physical proximity, a silent signal, so that they don't feel called out. When they feel called out, behaviors escalate quickly. It doesn't always work. But when behaviors are small, that is our first go-to, is start with something small. Sometimes I walk over and whisper. If I need them to go do something, I'll walk over and whisper, hey, I need you to, instead of, hey, Brody, I need you to go over there and do this, right? And shouting across the room, and then the kid feels called out and embarrassed, and the escalation now is going bigger, much quicker. The whole goal is to catch them before they get the explosion point or their lid is completely flipped. I think I mentioned this, that the signal must be predetermined and practiced when they're at baseline. So when they're regulated, even if it's a quick like warm up, okay, what are our signals? What are our class rules? Just like recite very quickly so that they remember it when they're regulated. Do we have any questions on that?
Does anyone have signals that they've used or enjoy or some ideas?
That's
Or
mine.
little wave, and then do they wave back?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen like hand on head, repeat that.
Yeah. We use give me 5, like you can hear me touch your nose,
Yeah,
like,
we
any
try.
of those things.
Yeah.
Yeah, any simple ones that they can follow very quickly to also work.
Is that the same, like on the same lines of like a call and response?
Yes. Call and responses, I tend to not use them because if the room is already loud, then you're just being louder than them. Like it becomes the game of who can be louder, right? So that's not the point of de-escalation. A lot of gen ed teachers would use them, which is great, but I don't use them personally just because it becomes a game of who's louder, usually. So I tend to like, if you can hear me, touch your nose. If you can hear me, touch your shoulders. If you can hear me, clap 3 times. Like anything to bring the noise level down rather than play the game of who can be louder. Because that's usually what happens. It's usually, yeah. Especially when they're older.
Yeah, I do it way quieter too. Like
Yeah.
when it's last time.
Yeah, you get quieter and quieter.
Yeah, then it's like, then everybody's like, okay, now we're back.
I like the clap 3 times because
Yeah.
that would get attention then.
It would, yeah. And I like switch it up. I don't make it the same every time. I like pull random things out just on the fly.
And I think you could have, you could have a call and response when it feels appropriate. And that's
But if when I want quiet, I want the, I don't want the who's louder. I call it a response.
Yeah. I will be loud.
I just want to say, I've had a teacher who has always thought that, and he gets exhausted with it now because he's not.
Exhausting to try and be louder.
Exactly.
Trying to josh with them, yes.
What is an example of a small or minor behavior?
Like if they're over there tapping their finger on the table,
Okay.
and that's bothering you, just coming in, standing, usually we'll get them to stop or. Right? Something like that. Instead of calling it out in front of everyone, it's just like a minor behavior that's like, okay, I can just quickly like, let's regroup that.
Okay, great.
And sometimes it helps to talk to them about it. Like, hey, I know you might need to tap your finger, but that really bothers me. So how can we come to the resolution of what can you do instead? Can you tap your leg instead? Because that's not as distracting to me. Like, how can you work together with them instead of being this like boss or this like person that's in charge, like more reaching them, especially when they get to like that fifth grade level, even older. They know what they want. They know that they're irritating you. It's not, they're not done. And so just like how we can, reach them without having to be the power struggle.
And we also have a variety of fidget toys available. And just asking them, does a fidget help you? Do you have one with you? Would you like to borrow one of ours?
The only fidgets that Marguerite and I notice a lot now are the ones that they chew on. And so that one is always hard for us when we're singing because we're like, okay, you don't want to chew on it while singing.
Sure.
So just making sure that they're aware, like we're okay with you having it, just not when you're singing at this moment. Yeah. Because then they start to.
And at some point they become toys. So also finding that balance of
the balance.
I always say this is a tool, not a toy. If it becomes a toy, it's mine.
Yeah.
I always take it right back. I don't do the power struggle. And so that is a big thing, is just making sure you are the more assertive one, because they'll try and run over you, especially if it's great. Like fifth graders right now, I'm like, boss. It's kind of that. So when we're starting to escalate, we're past that point of a small behavior. Going to this ask, I made you all little cardstock cards of this ask, prompt, wait strategy. So I have it as a traffic light. And I amended this from a little bit from what I've been given. I find this works better. So asking them, what do you need? So like green light, that's our first step. Like we're still in a spot where we can ask, what do you need? Can you tell me why you're upset? What's going on? If they're not able to do that, I go on to the prompt. So give them a specific demand. If something is happening, I need you to whisper. I need you to not asking can you, because if you ask can or will you, that's them to say, no, I'm not doing it. So giving that very specific, very positive, not like stop running, walking feet. Because when you say stop running, all I hear is running, right? So thinking about how we're using our verbiage, and this one is so hard because as humans, we naturally jump to stop doing that. Can you not do that, please? You know, and like, so thinking about how we reframe what we're asking them to do or telling them to do, like using that more positive, giving the specific, what the expectation of what.
And that example of hands to self on the cardstock is a very common one for us.
Such a big one. So that yeah, hands to yourself, feet to yourself, body to yourself. Any of those.
Are they like running around? We're standing in the circle right now.
Yes. Your
You can
body
stand
is
or
in
you
the
can sit.
circle. Yep.
Yeah.
You're sitting in the circle, like just that very specific, what you need them to.
Hands to self as opposed to stop touching them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Instead of stop running, walking feet. Please walk. Something like that. That's yeah. That one, they start to come back because they're like, no, I'm not. And they're like, okay, well, how are you going to be safe? And they're like, I'm not being safe. Like it becomes that power
What would you
struggle.
recommend then?
We
Like
usually
words, like wording-wise in a situation like that?
So we usually, like if it's a safety thing, I need you to put your feet on the floor for safety.
Okay.
I need it for safety. Like we come back to that, like, cause anything to, like, when they're escalated, they tend to want to jump to this, I want to argue with you. And so how we stop the arguing is just like, for safety, we are, that is unsafe, please. Don't be on the floor or something like that, you know, so. Yes, and not just being like, well, that's unsafe, you can't do that, right? They're like, well, why? And you know, it just becomes the same thing again, where you kind of sort of that power struggle of how we can do all that. And then if we are not in an ask or a prompt space, which can often happen, wait. Allow 3 to 5 minutes before returning back to the ask step. Oftentimes, if they're very escalated and we can't get an ask or a prompt out, just wait it out. They just need a couple minutes to regather themselves, and then they're ready to talk to you about whatever happened. They're ready to do something for you. It just becomes that they still need their space and they're not able to verbalize that.
So in the meantime, and they're still hitting their neighbor, what are you doing?
I would have the neighbor move. Remove the other student if you can. If they're not in a space to hear you, anything else you can do to remove the other student. Let's say they're running around in circles right here and the class is all sitting right here. Can you shift? Can everyone just move 4 steps to the right? Can we scoot our bottoms? Can we walk to the other side of the room? Something that removes the other students from that student.
And you have it here. If possible, move the regulated students or student away from the dysregulated one.
Yes.
And this is really new specificity for kids stage. Like I feel. Because I think like it's like if you have a class of 18 and only one is acting out, going around like blah, 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 it makes immediate sense to be like, well, let's get that kid out. But because they're dysregulated, that generally would require
I need you to come with me. Like, I'm not going, you know, and
it's derailing everything.
And they're done.
I would go with like physically remove. No, we're trying to move away from needing to physically remove or physically touch any student. So this is really, really big and new for us. And are you going to be covering everyone leaving the space?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Yeah. So talking about that evacuation piece. And so I did make you a little calm down space. So Everett School District uses Second Step, which for instance also uses. So I pulled some of the calm down strategies from Second Step and put them on there. So using positive affirmations, the lazy 8 breathing, and then naming the feeling and then cooling the soup, as they call it. So they say, I'm mad, and then they like pretend they're blowing on soup. And then I left a choice one on there. Some kids have very specific ones that they want to use. But I also at the top wrote the expectations. And this is a big thing for calm down spaces because kids will overutilize them. Is that they go to the calm down space, they pick a strategy, they try it, If they're ready to go back, they can go back. If not, repeat it once and then have them come back to group. So that we're not using it as like a hangout space and it's like a cool space to be. But if you need that time, go quickly take that, use a strategy.
So we used to implement calm down spaces really regularly. And I'm not sure if that's happening these days. Okay. So one thing that I think Megan is suggesting is that on the first day of camp, set up with your students where this calm down space is. Ideally, there's like a box of fidget toys or like a rug or something that like kind of denotes it visually. And it's something that you would go over on the first day. If you're feeling like you need a moment to take a break, this is our calm down space. The rule is there's only one student at a time. Once you're feeling calm, you're coming back to us, right?
Yeah, so using it as a designated space for them to remove themselves if they can make that choice. A lot of our kids can make that choice. They just have to know it's there when they're regulated. Because when they're dysregulated, telling them to go take a break and calm down just it doesn't work. And so knowing that right when we're upset, telling us to calm down doesn't work. So, like just giving them that step ahead of like just okay, I need to calm down, like I need a break. I'm gonna go over my break space, I'm gonna choose a strategy, I'm gonna do it once or twice, I'm gonna come back. And like just practicing it, like I said, when they're regulated, because when they're dysregulated, you can't from that at that point. And so just that they know the expectations of it and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So it's just and a lot school stuff. And we've integrated it into our schools. Every classroom has one. As they get older, they don't love it. But we still have them and they still use it when when they get into it. They'll still go to the cubby. I'm going to the cubby. Go to the calm down cubby. And so like they know it's there. And they may not always want to use it, and sometimes if you tell them to use it, it becomes this space they don't want to use. You can ask. I ask, would you like a break? Would you like to go to the calm down space? And they usually can say yes or no. They're usually able in that space to be able to say yes or no, I don't need it. And some of them have their own like kind of fidget natural calm down that also is the same idea. It's just doesn't work. That makes sense?
So I think this is something that could be decided by staff where it is in each room ahead of summer, if that doesn't feel too.
The first thing came to my head, you have those little plastic dots that you can just put a dot in the corner.
Yeah,
where you get to sit.
That's a dot in the corner. Sit on your dot.
I personally have the corner is a problem for myself because I used timeout and timeout is the corner. So if my students, I've had many students, they'll just come up to me. I haven't had any to where I've had to like tell them to go, but they'll say like, hey, I need to just take a moment and they'll just go sit. We have plenty of blocks and bleachers that I let them just go sit.
As long as you
if multiple students need to sit down, I allow them to, just not together. I'm like, okay, this is this space and this is this. Keep the distance so it's not a chat talk hangout.
And that becomes the thing.
But if we need that, and then I do have times where I have multiple students who are like, we all, and then it's like, okay, then we'll take a class, like we'll take a breather, we'll take a little break. Brain breaks, I ask students for evaluations after each class. Brain breaks are always the main thing that I get. More games and brain breaks. It's like, hey, do we need a brain break from this? It's like, yeah, can we just have a moment? Then we'll come back to it. So that gives everybody the opportunity, and then that one student doesn't feel.
And that's one thing we talked about.
On the corner.
It doesn't have to be a corner. Like it could be a bleacher spot, or it could be right next to the door. Like it doesn't have to be in the corner. So like ours in the school are in the like.
I'm just saying for us.
You know, like Charlotte. So like those types of
you.
things. You know, it doesn't have to be. And typically, if they're really upset, they don't want anyone to look at them, so they will go find a corner. And that's totally their natural. Like that's totally okay. And so just thinking like designated space so the expectations can be that they know that's there. Then there's no power struggle about, well, you didn't tell me that I could only do this twice, you know, and like so just like putting that expectation out there. And then the other thing we did talk about in our planning meeting is, like you said, the brain breaks. How can we naturally incorporate breaks, not only for the kids but ourselves? Like, how can we take a 5-minute like look at you? There's great things on YouTube. There's like quick movement breaks. There's like calm down. Like reading aloud a story. Like there's so many things on YouTube that you can explore that are completely free. So check those out. Just kind of whatever fits in for you. I often will pull up a video if a kiddo needs a break that's a little bit different. But just how it's okay to stop in the middle of a lesson if everyone's dysregulated. Like, please. I often have to, especially for disabilities, like, all right, my lesson's derailed for right now. I'm gonna pull this video up. We're gonna take 3 minutes to sing Wheels on the Bus, and we're gonna go back to you. Like, thinking of my first grade friend, but you know what I mean. Like, just how can we just like quickly like stop our lesson, give them that break, come back to them.
Next one.
Yeah. And so best practices when behaviors get physical, and I think we kind of touched on this a little bit, is like we tend into the school districts to use physical touch as the last. It's just a lot of reasons, but put yourself or your body between the two students. So if Zach is kicking Caleb, just go stand between them. Usually they stop, right? Because A, physical proximity, you don't have to say anything. B, it's not fun anymore because they're kicking the teacher, not their friend. Right?
I mean, we hope.
I want to kick the teacher. Yeah, most of the time, yeah. I mean, usually they're upset with whatever kiddo that they're having interaction with, and you stepping in between, they're like, well, that's not what I wanted, you know. So, so using physical proximity, if you have a headbanger, a kicker, those are a lot harder. I have a headbanger. I have to put my hands between the wall or the door usually and their head. Doesn't feel great. I've never been actually really hurt, and they typically stop because it's not the input that they want, right? So it's like two kids kicking each other. It's not a difference. So put yourself or your body between students or the students and the physical item. That I've noticed is a really big, like they tend to stop because it's not what they want. And then I usually redirect from there and say, okay, you know, what calm down strategy do you need? What do you need? What, you know, I start that ask, prompt, wait thing. And sometimes I have to wait it out, and that's okay. They're just not ready. They're really escalated about whatever happened, and they're not ready to tell you. They can't formulate what happened. And so that's when I revert to that very quickly. And then, we said physical restraint is the last resort. And then, we talked about this, having the student who's less escalated, go to a designated space in the classroom. So if Caleb and Zach were kicking each other, okay, Zach, you're going over, go sit over here for me. Caleb, you're staying here. You know, like how we remove the kiddo that is less dysregulated. Like we talked about when you're asking a regulated kiddo to leave, they're like, no, I'm not leaving. So just
And just to throw in what this would look like specifically in our classrooms. So generally, if you are the solo teacher, hopefully there's also an apprentice in the room. So in this case, if you, the teacher, feel like you are going to be the best one to be working with that escalated kid, you're going to be shifting the responsibility over to the apprentice. Like, oh, hey, Isaac, do you mind, not that you're an apprentice, but hey, do you mind running such and such? Maybe over there, I'm going to work with so-and-so. If you are the only one in the class,
Please call
Haley,
please call me, call Casey, call someone else, Janet, if Janet's on site.
I flip between both locations.
Yes, we are
alternating
happy to
weeks.
do that. I don't think anyone is truly solo. If you are the only teacher, like for an acting class, you have an apprentice. That's a great time for, hey, apprentice, how about you do game in the plaza? Oh my God, we get to do class outside. That's actually a good thing. Or hey, we actually needed to take a break anyways. Let's take a break 10 minutes early. We'll do that instead. But yeah, I have done many a camp for one, as we sometimes call it, where it's like, okay, it's just gonna be me and this one person. We're gonna hang out for a bit. Happy to do it.
Yeah. And another thing that we do is sometimes we do have to evacuate. If behaviors get big enough, and I didn't put this up here, but I will talk about it. It looks different depending on what is happening. Sometimes we're able to get kids to leave. We don't typically try that because it's not always. Sometimes we can't, depends on the kiddo. But evacuating. So what that looks like is that you would have somebody else go with the kiddos, right? So if you're in here by yourself, you would call for help. If you're not in here by yourself, have the apprentice just like hey, like whoever is best. Sometimes like for me, the principal shows up, the kid gets more escalated. So it's better for the principal to come swap me out, right? Come take over, just have them do whatever for 5 minutes, right?
With the rest of the class.
With the rest of the class, yes. And then I go handle the escalated student. So that's kind of one of those things you have to feel out. And usually after the first incident, you will know who the kiddo wants and just ask later, like, hey, like, I noticed you were really upset. Would you rather have had this person instead? And they'll tell you. They're like, oh yeah, no, I don't want that person. And so how you can work through that, that's kind of a case by case. But so if you're the person to say as the lead teacher, have the apprentice take the kiddos outside for, like, okay, we're gonna now take class outside, everyone else, but like class, let's go outside. And typically the kiddo that is upset doesn't really notice. And I try and do it very quietly and like so however you all want to establish a system, I'll let you figure out that within your buildings, but we have colored cards, we just have a keyword, like there's different things for different classrooms. And just when that word is said, everyone knows what's happening. And you can practice it too, when everyone's regulated, even kiddos who get really upset, like they don't take offense to it when they're upset. So if you say, okay, sunshine, and everyone knows that that means we need to go to the door and we're going outside with an adult, they're just going to do that without disrupting that other student. So how can we keep the environment calm and evacuate safely so that others aren't getting hurt, especially as the kids get older. I love my 4th graders, but they try and help. And they try and get themselves involved, and then that's when they're getting hurt. So how can we just let the adults handle it? The older kids want to help. They want to be helpful. They want to provide the kid with their calm down strategies and their fidgets and this and that. And I'm like, I love you all, but that's not, we need to just so how we think about that too, because kiddos are super sweet. They're very caring. They want to still help, but how do we as adults filter that and say, we know you want to help, but for your safety, this is the plan. So I'm just thinking through how you want that all to happen is a great idea. It's better to have it preset than have to come into an emergency and figure out what you want to do. We've had to do it both ways because there's a kiddo that's been set off that we didn't know would be set off. And so we then had to figure out our game plan from there. But definitely resetting that so you know what to do, because we go into fight or flight too, right? As adults, in those situations when big things are happening, we don't stay regulated usually. We're usually in fight or flight. And it's like, what was I supposed to do?
It seems to me like we can tie this into our safety procedures of, so if there was in the event of an emergency or any reason why we would need to leave the room that is different than just the end of going on a break or the end of class, we will do the following things. And we have a signal, and in my brain it's make like a tree and leave, and everybody just goes.
But whatever you want it to be, and it varies from classroom to classroom, like I said. And then another piece of that is I gave you a make it right form. And so we were talking about this is, so thinking about kiddos when big situations happen, they often go home and come back and act like nothing happened. That's hard for everyone else involved, including the adult. So I give you an example of a make it right form that I created for you all. We were talking about having it sent home with the kiddos to talk to their families about and fill out that night before they come back the next day. One reason is family involvement. So families know what's happening. Second reason is kiddos usually don't want to talk about what happened right away. Not even sometimes the same school day. Something can happen at 8:30 and at 3:10 when I'm trying to talk to them, they're like, you made me do it, and they're still not ready to talk about it. But when they get home and we get parents involved, they're more willing to talk about it with their parents. So just giving them that make it right form too of like, what happened? How did others feel? How did I feel? How can we stop this?
Do we want to at all prompt like, hey, there was an incident between this kid and this kid. We want to fill the form about that, because sometimes, I feel like they're just saying this like, I don't know what happened. I don't know what
so if you want it, so like just it might be something you just like send home with the kiddo and let the parents know, hey, like I know you have the incident, like you would fill out an incident form. So just let the parent know. Okay. Like, hey, I'm sending home the make it right form. Please fill it out with them tonight. Like this is what happened. Can you please talk through the situation? Right there.
And so teachers know, usually Kid Stage staff takes on that responsibility of that conversation with families.
Yeah.
Because you are more likely to be the people in the room who experienced, we might ask you to be a part of that conversation, but we never insist on you taking that conversation on with parents by yourself.
No.
We will always be a part of it. We will be leading it, facilitating it.
Yes. That's a really important one, because kiddos do want to like, well, I didn't do that. This kid did this first, that kid did that first. And it continues on, and this is when we see a lot of the big behaviors too, is like, if so-and-so got them out at Foursquare at recess, and now it's the next school day, and they looked at them wrong, then they're fighting, right? Mm-hmm. And so, like, how do we de-escalate this, what's happened in the past, with what's happened now, like, this continuation of behaviors that we don't necessarily need to connect as adults, right? So just how we help think through that to what's the solution? Does someone need to apologize to someone? Do we, right. And we don't always force apologies, but just thinking about teaching our kiddos, especially in more unstructured space in here, of how to appropriately interact.
We were talking earlier about cultivating empathy and talking about consequences of emotions.
Yes.
And I feel like that relates to everybody of all abilities. And I wonder about, incorporating these make it right forms in terms of like, okay, so in this scene, how would this character make it right? Mm-hmm. So then it becomes a normal thing.
Yes. Yeah. That's a great idea. Yeah, I'm agreeing it. Yeah.
And then in terms of accountability, staff as well as the teachers, please make sure you're carving out time towards the beginning of the next day to check in with that student. Sometimes the parents will probably also want to be checking in.
Yeah.
To make sure that their student is repairing. So staff, we can always make sure that we're giving you the chance to really have that time with the kiddo. We can be there, or we can make sure that we're in the classroom with the other kids to make it happen. So just making sure that it's not just getting like kind of dropped.
Yes. Yeah.
They
making
probably
sure that
did spend
circle is
time
in
on
close,
it.
because then that's the situation of like, well, you did this to me the other day, and now you're doing this to me, and I'm going to kick you or hit you or punch you or whichever it shall be, right? So that we're closing that, we call it restoring. Restoring that everyone's on the same page, everyone feels heard, both parties get a chance to talk. Often kids will say, well, you did this to me, well, you did that to me, instead of talking about how that made them feel and talking through the actual situation. Like, for example, they were playing Uno the other day, and one kiddo felt like one ruined the game, but the other was just playing the game, and like, so they thought there was targeting going on and all these things, right? And so then it went outside to recess, me not realizing what was actually like going on. I was like, okay, we're cleaning up, we're going out, and then they're outside at recess doing the same thing, so how can we come back and like make that restorative conversation that they're on the same page, everyone felt heard, we're good to go. Okay, I'm gonna give you a couple scenarios now. I'm not gonna tell you who to be partners with because I despise that as a teacher. I'll just tell you first. When we go into meetings and trainings, and they're like, so you need to sit with your grade up. So I have a total of 4 scenarios. We're gonna go, I'll give you some time to work with whoever you would like to work with, and talk through each scenario, and we can come back and share as a group if you want to. If you share, despise that. Like share what you thought. Well, I really want to. And so, but talk about it, and we'll go on to the next one. And then I left some time at the end for questions. Okay. So scenario number 1, it's Friday morning, and Zach really didn't want to come to summer camp this week. He knows that both of his parents work from home on Fridays, and he begged them to let him stay home with them today. But they still forced him to come. He's now refusing to engage with the lesson or activity, and he's wandering around the room, tipping things over, and creating an unsafe environment for the rest of the students. And this does happen. This does happen. When they come to school and something didn't go
Kid wandered around the auditorium for the sharing.
I'm sorry. We literally just had this fall classes.
I remember it in summer, one kid wandering around the auditorium.
Yeah. So feel free to talk it out. I'll let y'all talk it out, and think about like what, giving the information I gave you, what you think you would do in this situation.
Okay.
And I go back next.
Yeah.
This is my art.
Sorry, hard on it.
Well, and for us on Friday.
Yes,
and because it's the last day of
it is
performance.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know. But I don't. Yeah.
giving how to get some.
Right.
I feel like when they don't want to be there, it's like giving them depending on the stage, you know, giving them more of a job and more leadership rather than joining it tends to get them more engaged with contact. Whatever it is, helping clean up, helping set up, it tends to help them be like, oh, and then if they don't want to play the game at that point, then it's like, yeah, still doing something. I Australia, like kind of and parents will make her come to here with me, but like when you're visiting them, and then also knowing that like other students see me giving that attention to her, right? It's like, okay, now your turn, you know, you guys want, so that way it's not a why did she so I know it's like, well, everyone's gonna have a chance of giving her maybe like 2 or 3 questions. So that's what I know.
I kind of always get to judge myself, like, do I want to make it something desirable or something like, because I've had also like, you don't want to go in, it's like, okay, you can watch me because I was just where you're going. Or
I've done that.
Right.
I've done that with somebody, and they're now in institute.
Yes, I have, yes.
And they were like one time with me.
Yeah, it's like, okay, are you
Like when they were 4 and we were doing fixed classes.
do you not want to join because you want to be my seat and actually I do just want to for a second. It's fine. You know, right? Sure. Hey, she's amazing. Drink is my favorite.
Yeah.
Like what color? I want to make it start for our next fine, they have to hang out with anybody, like, what's your, it's like, well, we fixed our poster. Because then what's it?
Also, there's an opportunity if they see the poster with that meeting and they're saying going from curriculum, sometimes that's a
Oh, you could bring that out.
also to have a lot. Said something and I was like, oh yeah, yes.
And that's
So where they were.
And then yeah, that's do that in a wonder, but like letting the child know, like letting them feel like not a be there, you know, like that I see you, I'm so glad you're here today, like you show me like, oh wow, you're not like, you know, to make them feel there's gonna be that student, like when you're like, okay, like giving them that extra like, I can't wait to do that. It's like basically don't start with that today. Starting with what they like to do that you know that you see throughout the week that they're like not mixed. So that way they're like, I can't find that tool when I'm here, you know. Now I'm excited that you have that.
Did it.
Send you
well, I found enough hours to late today, it's like late and not Monday. This weekend is my last weekend. It's like summer camp. Like that happened. Yeah, I was like, when I was making my wedding, yeah, we'll go back.
Make sure you
You did not even notice, no one.
I mean, there's
I mean, non-verbal.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if this is in this space, like there's, you're all done?
Yes,
Yes.
giving our non-verbal.
Marguerite, are you good?
Oh, I'm here.
Good job, Marguerite.
Does anyone want to share what they would do in this situation? You don't have to, but give a lot.
I'll share. Kind of something we all said was like, you know, giving them something to do, like how you said earlier. You said give them maybe like something to give them to engage in. So if they're really not wanting to be there that day, maybe giving them like, hey, can you help pass out the papers, pencils? Giving them opportunity to lead, which is something I know I worked on a lot of, like we have a lot of returning students. They know how to play the games. They really want to show how to play. So if this student has been there all week, they know how to play this game, be like, okay, you can help lead this to help them get engaged. Another thing that we said was, if we notice the kid doesn't really want to be there, and we can see that from the beginning, noting that, okay, this kid maybe need a little more attention, giving them affirmation of like, I'm so happy you're here, so glad to see you. What game should we start off with today to get them to do something that they like Night at the Museum is the favorite game. And I always play it at the end of class. But if that student's like, okay, we start with Night at the Museum, that gets them immediately, I'm happy to be here. We play that game, start off the day, and then hopefully they're engaged the rest of the time.
It's okay to derail what happens.
Yeah.
Yes.
I do it all the time. I can't tell you how much I do it.
Oh, all the time.
And so just derail. Start with something different. Do we need to start with a warm up? Do we need to get like a Coach PE out on YouTube and like let's do a quick warm up? Like let's get blood going, some like energy out, and like think about how instead of like, all right, we're coming in, we're getting started with this, we're doing this, and they're like, well, now I'm not doing any of it because I don't want to do all of this stuff, and now you're telling me I have to do all of this stuff, and I really don't want to. Right. So just thinking about like, how do we get them engaged? Do we start out with a game instead? Do we let them lead something, give them a job, even if it's like, oh, I need you to take this note to so and so, like, even if it's just in the classroom, like, and we do that all the time. We send them on errands. Here, can you go to the office? Can you do that? And I know it's not always great to leave classrooms here, but like, what can you do to like get them engaged in the day, get them off of like, well, I don't want to do this, right? And so. That's good. It doesn't always have to be an immediate. Janet and I were talking about this. Could be an evacuation. It doesn't always have to be an immediate evacuation. Sometimes we can jump and do the immediate evacuation, and that only triggers more. So starting with the how can we get them engaged? Can we send them to tell a friend something? Can we just something to get them out of this like I don't want to do this, I don't want to be here type situation, and then see if we can get them engaged. If getting them engaged doesn't work, typically evacuation is the next step so that no one else is getting hurt. But just how, like we said, how can we get them re-engaged? Obviously they don't want to be here, right? They're making it very clear they don't want to be here. So how do we try and reel that back in first step without just jumping to the immediate like evacuation? Of course, if they're coming in and like, who knows, throwing props places, swinging off the stage, that's an evacuation, like I need help. But like, if they're just like knocking over some papers, like I know we want to jump and say, don't knock over my papers, like I've worked so hard to do all this, right? Like we get in this space of like thinking about how we feel about it and just how can we just ignore that small behavior, because if we're ignoring the small behavior, they tend to not display their behaviors. If you acknowledge the small behaviors, then they're like, well, haha, I'm gonna come take this from you and do this, and right, and so the opposite effect of what we want.
I just wanted to quickly add on to what you're saying about like the engaging part. I think something that would work really well is that at the end of the day, when you're doing like your closing thoughts and you're having your closing question, one of them could be like, what was something you really enjoyed today? And you ask everybody what they enjoyed. And then you see the student that was having problems today, you see what they're really enjoying, and then see how you can incorporate that to the next day.
Yeah.
Or if you notice they have a really hard day, like, okay, so and so tomorrow is gonna pick the game that we're gonna play. Come with what game you want to play tomorrow. Think about it tonight. Come tomorrow with what game you want to play. We're going to start this game. Right? So that they're excited to come back the next day. Right? Yeah. We're not leaving them like, oh, well, I just said that I really enjoyed doing this today, but now I have to come back tomorrow and do this and that, and everything else I don't want to do. Right? And so like, how can you like engage them? And I heard a conversation about like giving some extra special, like every kid gets a turn, right? To lead or something, but if they get a couple more turns, it didn't ever, like having them feel that special from you, like that personal connection that they also, and I know some camps are like just a week and they're gone, but like how can we make that effort to make them feel wanted to be
3 hours is a really long day when somebody doesn't want to be there.
Right. It's the struggle, right? Like it's a really long day for us with adults. It's a long day for them. It's a long day for all the other kids. It's not fun. No one's having fun. Like it's not fun, right? And so how can we change our narrative? And like as adults, we kind of get stuck and we're like, I'm so frustrated with this kid, and I get this all the time with gen ed kids. Like this kid is still leaving the classroom, and this kid is still doing this. But I'm like, look, like we have to celebrate the small things too. They're using their break card. They're saying I need a break. Like all these small things we have to remember too, because we often overlook the progress, especially with kids with disabilities, of how much progress they've made. You know, so just in celebrating them, I'm proud of you for going to take a break. Thank you for choosing to take a break. That was, you know, like just giving them that acknowledgement so that they know they're doing the right thing.
And all of that is awesome and would get you to maybe it not getting this bad on Friday. But I feel like the fact that this scenario is Friday raises the stakes because it's a performance day and the energy is always different on a Friday. And if that kid didn't want to be there all week and was like, okay, we're doing the games, but I don't like doing the rehearsal part.
Yeah.
And now we're all doing rehearsal because it's performance day.
Having them sit, okay, your job is to sit here and watch and see, like, okay, you know, give them a job.
Can you make sure everyone has a window?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just something. So yeah.
We had a kid who loved music but hated performing, and so she got to be our pit singer.
Yeah.
And so she sat next to Marguerite at the piano and just sang quietly to herself the whole time.
Yeah. Just finding whatever it is that they need, right?
Yeah.
We do that as adults for us. We find what we need. Finding what they need.
Cool.
Okay.
Anything from Marguerite?
I wrote down some kind of a different question because I was thinking about the idea of like when you have multiple teachers in the class and how like before or I guess on Friday you'd kind of already have seen a pattern of behavior that would kind of show what and how you would want to check in with the student. But when you decide things like which teacher is going to check in with them, which teacher is going to be leading the class at that point, I guess I have more of a question around like how to communicate amongst the teachers, but I can also save that for a more appropriate time if it would be a more appropriate thing later.
Yeah. That usually requires for us some briefing. Typically before school starts, if something is going on, I go talk to that gen ed teacher. Gen ed teacher comes to me. That's where we do the preemptive beforehand. It's not always super easy, but we try and make a real big point of doing that preemptive strategy of having the plan before they come in, and thinking about their options instead of trying to come up with it on the fly. So just really being intentional for that student, because they can tell when you're BSing them versus when you put in the time to think about. Not always the greatest, but we've noticed that really helps. Like if they have, you know, like, okay, so we know they're not going to perform. So what other job do we have within like the performance that we can give them to? Yeah. It's like and like making a point of like specifically saying, I picked this specifically for you. This is your job and your job only. And so that they know that you're noticing them and you put time into thinking about them and what they should be.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Welcome.
And I have a question.
Yeah.
Do we know ahead of time what kids are neurodivergent before class starts?
If parents identify, yes.
I was like, probably not all.
Often parents do not.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so that's one thing we talked about.
Yeah.
And I made a form that I will share. So I made a Google form that's a very simple form that you can even send to parents after, you know, they come the first day and they're like, oh yeah, my kid has ADHD or my kid has autism and this. It's just a very simple form that says like, what is your student's name? You know, so you know who it is. And then what strategies do you use at home with your student? What tools or, what else did I can't remember what I said. What tools or what, other thing, do they use at home? And then anything else that you want the teacher to know. So hopefully that those parents that have those students can give you that information ahead of time. You can comprehend that information, think about how you can adapt for them. Gives you that more kind of planning.
That's really cool. That I like that idea that you can do it after the first day.
Yeah.
So like if they come and like we get that quite often, like, oh, my kid has ADHD, but they're not on IEP or on a 504, and it's like, So then usually, Jen and teachers come to me, how can we plan for this kiddo? Like it doesn't always have to be before.
Or even like maybe the parent isn't using any sort of label at all, but you see some behaviors on the first day, and you're like, hey Janet, can we send this to this family?
Yeah.
And just under the guise that we're sending it to everyone, but we're not.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We get some feedback from them. They know their kids best sometimes.
Historically, what has
Yeah.
happened a lot is, especially when, well, like in Issaquah, we used to check in all of our camps at FJG at the big building and then walk the ones that were going to the other theater down the street. So we'd have 100+ people in the lobby, and I'd go through the first day of camp, shenanigans, and I would feel the weight of a parent's eyes on me every week. And I'd be like, that parent wants to talk to me privately. And so that parent would find me, their kid has already gone either upstairs or to the other building. And then they tell me what their kid needs. And I'm like, wow, yeah, great to know this before your kid left the space with a teacher who is not informed.
That we do beforehand, before school starts, is once we get our we email parents, can you fill out this questionnaire? So you're welcome to edit the Google form any way you want that I've made.
We can maybe put it into our confirmation materials.
Yeah, took it right out. I was like, is it worth, like, if you haven't made like notes on this in your Sawyer account, like, let us know. Email's fine. Yeah,
just however
our teachers are aware.
We try and send home a parent questionnaire beforehand. And parents are really great about giving them all the information that you want. It is hard when they come the first day and haven't told you anything, and they want to come in, like we're talking about. They want to come in, they want to see everything, they want to be so involved, and that's where we do the same thing. We're just like, okay, like maybe a quick walkthrough, like now out you go. Like they don't even come into our school anymore. Like after COVID, we're just like, nope, it's so much better for the kids if they're not. Like if they disconnect from the parents outside at check-in and come in with it's just a different dynamics in there. Oh, well, my parent came in yesterday. Can my parent come in today? Like, it's just easier to kind of.
We just sometimes are the first activity that a kid has ever done. So.
Yeah, and so that's the hard. It's the same thing with kindergartners, their first day of school. Every parent wants to come in and see the classroom and their desk and all these things, right? But it's just easier to say goodbye outside, and you come inside, and we just start that expectation. You follow the same. It's routine. They're not worried about the parent coming in, because that could become the next thing, right? Like if it's a young kindergarten first grader that's like, well, my parent came in the first day, and like now I want my mom, and like how do we just kind of cut those ties and say, yep, we're saying goodbye at check-in. We're coming in as a group. This is the expectation. This is what we're doing. Those kind of.
Yeah, sometimes parents aren't great at preparing their students,
neurodivergent
or not, for that transition.
And that's where you just kind of have to say, nope, that's not what we're doing. I know it's not everybody's more success if you just say goodbye. Okay, going on to scenario number 2. On Jessica's way to kids stage, there's a lot of traffic, so Jessica's late. Her mom already rushed her out the door this morning, and she didn't get to do all the things she wanted to do. Jessica's now refusing to engage in the lesson or take it.
Like us.
It's the same scenario. It's just a different environment.
That was still wild to me. I don't get that.
The kid who showed up without shoes.
That was wild.
And then the dad brought him later.
And then they want to call, right? So then they're like, well, I want to call my dad. I need this. I forgot that, right? Like, so this happens to us all the time. I forgot my library books. I don't have my phone. I don't have my water bottle. My lunch. All these things. And so, like, how to engage those kiddos that come dysregulated due to outside things that are not in their control, right? Their adults is their person until they're here with you, and then you're their person. But how do we re-regulate them before we get started?
So they won't take a break to re-regulate, and they won't participate.
Yep.
Discuss amongst yourselves.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
To know, like, okay, what are you missing?
What are you saying?
Yeah.
Do you need a snack?
What can I do to that? So I don't have to.
Water. We got this. Find something for them. And hopefully that will help them take that moment like a grab, like something.
Yeah, but I love that you're.
Bill, now are they still at that point? That was just kind of like what's when I have
Sometimes it's like, I get very bored. I don't put like,
I think about this like young person, and I'm wondering what this looks like.
sometimes
Think like a
until like,
kids
talking about stuff. And it's like giving them a job, it just gets their mind, it just gets their mind off of it. I don't know if that's been one of his best suggestions, but it sometimes it's just kind of like where you go to job like that. Not like I'm here for real, you just get one out.
Right, right. Yeah, I was gonna say, like, guessing in the first one, is there something that someone share with us?
And sometimes
It's very good to practice, someone to the response, kind of thing, the fourth thing is like, this is not my fault, like, you wanna fix it, my fault, it's included, it makes it your fault.
Yeah, 6th to 8th grade, it looks like somebody on the phone. They won't get off the phone.
And that's when you're
already.
yes. A while ago, very like. And that's like one day.
Yeah, because it really usually is, they go away. I feel like this scenario is somebody who's like, you know, not a vision, I'm not actively regulate myself. Or this is part of my active.
And that's something that like, I mean, it's letting them know, like, we got you. Like, there are, I mean, I always say that joke with all these. But I choose who I do that with, and I know that it's not the situation. It's right now, they need it. You know, like,
Yeah. We didn't have these exact things. And
But I would want to try and do some kind of.
That could be next in one.
They're usually talking roles.
It's like every.
So I'm gonna.
So it's like every single.
This feels like this right now.
She's always gonna be the back when she's passing on. So like, it's not watching her.
And what I like even be like, how do you tell you? I mean, it's pushing, right? Right?
And that's.
Which you're using too.
She's
fried a little bit. So at that point.
Your job is to phone.
That's the one. Yes. And for a lot of us, we have kids who have watched it who don't have phones.
I was just not. Oh, yeah. I was like, yeah, like, what do you know about that? Oh my god. Totally.
You know, I was on my birthday, they had the pancake and the sausage pancake restaurant, and I remember, I'm like, I'm not eating. Like,
Oh no, but I bet you're quite very.
You're okay.
Yeah. I was thinking way more.
And then later said,
Nice to say it.
no, Mari, since she was 16.
Usually.
I know, this is my 19th year. By next January, I will have known you for 20 years. By then you will have 3 children.
Yes.
You gotta be.
Yes.
We thought that maybe Jessica didn't get enough breakfast, and we've had trainings in the past that say, check in about kind of their physical needs first. And like taking her aside and saying, how was your morning, and are you hungry, or, can you tell me?
Going to that
Offer a
last
snack.
Jana and I were talking about that, going to that first prompt of asking, right? Acknowledging they're here, they need something, asking them what they need.
I like to remind them that this wasn't their fault.
Yeah.
Because like I'll have students that like see that the camp has gone to the classroom and they're like, I'm late, I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
Right, and they
acknowledging, like,
internalize that.
as an adult, it's okay, I'm late sometimes too. It
Yes,
makes me
uh-huh.
Let's take 4 deep breaths
Exactly.
and let's reset, and we'll go up to class together. It'll be okay.
Yeah. I didn't bring my blue shirt for the frozen camp. I'm gonna go find you a blue.
Yes,
shirt.
exactly.
Yeah, got it. Yeah.
Just acknowledge what and connect with them. Say that you feel those things too, right?
Yeah,
It's okay. When I'm running late, I get flustered. Let's take 4 deep breaths. It'll be okay. Just like helping them through that moment of like, the anxiety ridden of like, now they're in trouble and they don't have this and that. Now they feel like they're going to be more in trouble, right? As a person who doesn't like to be in trouble, that's a big thing for me, right? Like, I don't want to be in trouble. Don't call me into your office. Don't tell me, like, I'm just going to hide out in my class, right? Like, how could I not,
To go off of that too, when I have students that come in late, we always are like, yay! Like
celebrate them.
not like, okay, come on, let's go. Like that. Like it's like, oh, acknowledging that you're here.
Of something like, I need you to
Yeah.
stop that right now.
Yeah.
And then they're more flustered.
Yeah.
They're like, I'm already late. I forgot this. Now I'm gonna be in trouble. And now you're telling me I
Yeah.
need to do all these things.
Acknowledge that they're here,
Right,
like being like, okay, take your time to put your stuff down and join us.
Yeah.
Like
Celebrate
this is
them,
what we're
celebrate them.
doing, letting
Yes.
them know instead of just throwing them into the thing.
I really need to name that there's just so much compassion for children in this room, and it makes me really.
Me too.
appreciate
I'd love to see that the things we're doing at schools are being transferred into the stage. Like that just, I'm so happy that like these kids like are getting the same thing
Yeah.
with you all. Like just
Right.
it's just so important that, expectations and routines and things stay the same and that you all have the same passion for that we do at schools.
Yeah.
That makes them want to come more. Like you may not feel that at the moment, but like there's some that have been here for a long time, it sounds like.
Oh,
so
yeah.
like you were like at some point probably didn't want to come, but now you're invested and you're working here, and like all these great things that like you never think about until they grow up too, right? So like I was talking about celebrating those small things too, like just make them feel welcome, make them feel loved. Even if it is you just have them for a week. Yeah. It's hard, I know, with some kiddos. There's definitely some that are really hard, but just like reminding yourself to take that.
And sometimes students have their own routines to bring themselves down.
They do.
See students
Yeah, and
like I do this with my parent. I'm like, you want to lead us through some breaths or
and that's
whatever.
why like the great like the calm down expectations like you choose, and like asking parents like what are your strategies at home, what like all those things you can help incorporate, because I was talking about the clear expectations, the routines, if they know that they can do their own thing within the space, that makes them feel more welcome.
But that also goes with one of the topics, right? Including the differences and stuff, like letting them share their culture. That could be something they do.
Yeah.
So that goes with that as well.
It's all really incorporated.
So easy.
It's
wild.
12th graders. This is such a tough one when we get to the middle school. Even the 5th graders. Because they're ready for middle school, right? Especially by summer, they're like, I'm going to middle school. You can't tell me what to do,
Oh, well, in our program, if they're going to middle school, they are middle schoolers.
Yeah.
We,
So
we go by the grade they're going into
for
for summer.
Right? And so we were talking about this, Janet, we're talking about this, like, phones are a big thing. And watches. All these kids either have a phone or a watch. And if they're gonna come in middle school and high school, they're gonna have those, right? And if they don't want to be here, they're gonna want to sit in the corner and be on. Jen and I were talking about designating within your classroom a spot for everyone to come in and set their phone in their watch. Because even if they don't have a phone and they're upset, they're gonna be texting their parent on their watch all the time. I can't even believe how these kids can do this stuff and like I don't even see it. Right? I'm like, how did your parent bring you your water bottle? Like, we literally talked about this 2 minutes ago, and your parents at school bringing you your water bottle. Oh yeah, I texted them on my watch. Oh my goodness. Okay. So like, yes, I know parents have them for safety, but if the kid is never leaving the classroom without their watch or their phone, if you're going out for break and they're taking it to break with them, their location is still here. it doesn't have to be on their list, right? And so we think about the middle school and high school too. Like teachers make them just put them in bins. You're putting your watch in a bin, you're putting it on my desk. It's just a non-negotiable. And if you start with that from day one, it's nothing. Because if you try and take that back and make it a rule later because you've discovered it's a problem,
There's a lot of research about.
It is, and then they're just texting their parent about silly things like a water bottle that you could have solved already, right? Like, already went and got your water bottle, now your parents showing up with a water bottle. Like, it's just this whole discombobulation, and then everyone's thrown off, right? Whoever's at the door, you as the teacher are thrown off, wait, they already got water, what's happening, right? Like, it's just this whole thing for everyone. Like, if that's what routine you want to go with, that's right too. So just think about that if you have kids. Like even 4th and 5th graders have watch.
Yes.
All of them do. So like if you're teaching those 4th and 5th graders, like think about like if you want to get a cute mat, so like everyone has like somewhere to put it, or like if you want to label it for each kid. I know that takes a little bit of time, but like even if you just use a sticky note, just write everyone's name on a sticky note. Okay, if you have electronics, they go on top of your sticky note or something to like so that it's just a routine. They come in, they set stuff down, their phones go on the table. Because we can always tell them, oh, you have to keep on your backpack, but the kiddos that wear watches do this. And the next thing you know, their parents showing up with something and you're like, wait, what? And then you're all discombobulated, right? You're all distracted from what was going on. And now everyone else is distracted and it's this whole game, right? So just thinking about that piece of that too, especially as they get older, they're probably just going to want to sit on their phone in the car, right? That's kind of the MO. So.
I'm kind of curious. I've had a situation. This hasn't happened multiple times, but I usually work with like kindergarten to 2nd grade kids, and I've had these are 1st graders that come in with like a watch, and will call their parents. So during class, I would recommend just make because it's just one kid, so it feels.
And that's why I said like a lot of parents want it to like for location. If you're not leaving this classroom without them if you're going up for snack, like have them just quickly grab it. If that's your rule, whatever your rule is, like if they're not leaving this location, the location's still here. So if that is their safety thing, like they're thinking about like, well, I need to be able to access my kid, that's when you say, but we're no phone, no watch, you need to contact this person.
Right.
And you just as whoever is running, just say this is how you get in contact with your kiddo when they're here. Yes, I understand they have a phone and a watch, but those are not accessible. When we're here,
Your question, like if only one of them has it, how do you make sure it's not just like a hey, I see you have one?
That's I think. Well, also, I mean, especially the younger kids love to bring in lots of little gadgets and things,
Stuffies.
So it can probably just be a space for
anything
toy that you brought in.
You could
watch you want.
Brought in. This is you if you want to bridge this, but if you wanted to make every kid feel special, you could open a table, do the sticky notes with their name. They get to bring one special thing. If it becomes a problem, right, this is what we do, we limit it. One special thing, and it goes on your sticky note when you get it.
And there's a moment maybe where
you
can go.
I mean, you do you do a quick, one of your days, it's like a show and tell. So bring one special thing, right?
I was thinking you can even tie how they put the phone on, like how they put the phone on the station to indicate how they're feeling for the day. Like if it's at, 90 or, if it's like this, how are they feeling between 0 and 90? Like a phone.
I think it was,
Or
it was when I was practicing or something.
We had meltdowns lots of firsts, and so we did the stuffy day. And so it was like the stuffies were here, right? They're there as that security because it was like,
but it has to stay there.
It stayed there during breaks, during
any of
snacks.
those things.
You can have it, but it was like I need my stuffy, and it's like I can see it. It's there. Okay, I'm okay. Or if they need their cool down and they're taking their break, they can go hug their.
So if they bring a stuffy and one kid has a watch, like okay, I need you to just like watch. You need to put your watch on your stuffy. Your stuffy is gonna wear your watch today. Just like total non-negotiable. Like
Cool.
Kids are great. It's always a tough one with the young kids, especially. They always bring stuff.
How are we feeling about time? I want to try. I know that we made you start so late.
I'm good. It's all good.
Okay.
We're good.
Okay. Are we good on this one?
How are we all feeling on time? Because it is 3. Staying later, we will be able to compensate if we're going like an extra half hour. but also your time is valued here, and if you need to go to sleep, or whatever might be the case,
It's recorded.
that's absolutely, yeah, it's true, it's recorded and it's absolutely.
If we have like another 15 minutes, I can stay for.
Yeah, I just have 2 more quick scenarios.
Yeah.
So, like, we can make it real quick, and I can hang out for questions that anyone that.
What do you think about the next two? Maybe an open discussion?
Yeah, I can just, yeah, we can just.
Or you can tell us the answer.
It's kind of self-explanatory. So Jared feels like Brandon is picking on him because he's always making comments about his singing. Jared has told Brandon to stop numerous times and he hasn't stopped. Jared punches Brandon and Brandon punches Jared. So this is
Quite.
it happens so fast, right? Like I'm not even gonna pretend this doesn't happen in 2 seconds, right? And so they punched each other now, right?
Yeah, and in between them.
You're going to say whoever is less escalated. Usually it would be Brandon, right? Because he's been punched first and then he just
It's retaliatory.
right? He's still in that mode of like, I can still hear things, Jared's like, I'm so pissed, right? I punched you. And like, I'm mad at you, and right? So that's when you tell Brandon, you put yourself between them. Brandon, I need you to go here. Jared, I need you to go here. And if you have an apprentice or if you don't, like, get someone to help you quickly. If you can keep them physically separated without having to touch either one of them, that is the best possible situation. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. Some of them, and you can usually tell this before it happens, they really don't get along. Just keep them if you can. Like, don't put them in partnerships, keep them opposite like room, like just keep them separated.
A lot of times in our classes, this is actually siblings.
Yes,
and then they don't understand why they have to be separated because this behavior is normal for them at home.
Yes, and that's when you just say, here, we're just going to be on opposite sides of the room. You both need your own space. You need your own learning. You need your own time to perform. Like, just make it about like this about them. Like, you need your space, your time. You know, your sister or brother is going to be over here doing their own thing, doing their part. Like, just make it about them having their own space there.
Isaac.
This is kind of for, I guess, all of the scenarios. When something like this happens, you deal with it and then it's mostly dealt with, and then you turn to the rest of the class and they just watched a wrestling match.
Yeah.
So what do you do?
So you would essentially like, right, so this is where this comes in of like, we're gonna send the incident form home, like, you know, whoever's gonna reach out to parents, how we do that restorative conversation. And so that's where you would just pause. And everyone else, like typically, right, when those situations happen, like we sit in a circle and like we talk about, okay, how do you feel, very quickly, like making it a quick like 5-minute restorative. Like,
And that's about the consequences of emotions.
yes. So like you talk through the situation, okay, this happened, how did that make you feel? What could have been the solution? Just making it a very quick, kids can talk about things forever, right? How do we just like make it this quick, like, okay, we're gonna circle up, tell me how you felt about that. Let's talk about it really quick. What could have been a solution? What can we do next time? Back to it.
And it's okay for it to do that in front of Jared and Brandon?
Yes.
Okay.
And have them be a part of it. As long as they're sitting on, if they are calm enough to do that, and usually they are, because they'll be like, well, I'm mad at you because you did this. And right, they've already yelled it out.
Yeah.
At that point, right? It happens so fast that they're like, and so like they've already yelled it out, okay, we're having a class restorative, or we're having a kid stage restorative, like whatever you want to call it, restorative quick conversation. We have 5 minutes. We're gonna go around the circle, everyone's gonna say how they felt about it. We're gonna quickly talk about a solution. And then to make them feel heard, acknowledge the situation happened. What can we do different next time? And then if there needs to be more restorative between the two kiddos, if there's still arguing going on, that's like a separated, like, apprentice, have that conversation with them on the side. It doesn't always work. Sometimes they're not de-escalated enough, but it is okay to have the conversation if they're ready to have, like the two that have the disagreement, if they're ready to have it with everyone. If not, that's when like, can you have these two work this out for me while I talk to the class about the situation, so whatever is ready. Not making it a big deal, but acknowledging that the situation happened.
Yeah. If they're able to be involved, it helps destigmatize. Everybody's having the conversation of what are the emotions that this incident brought up for us, and they're it sort of destigmatizes them. It's like, okay, we all acknowledge this is a thing that happened, and what do we want to do about these things in the future?
Right. Yeah. Something I do as well is that if it's not that day, the next day when we do our circle time of going, okay, so yesterday we didn't
hit our safety rule. How can we be safer today? Let's make safety our priority. Let's really try to keep our hands to ourselves, bodies to ourselves, and just like putting that in the front of like yesterday. Our goal setting for safety wasn't quite hit. Let's try to hit that harder today. Something that we do.
Yeah. I'll be like, today's theme is safety.
Right.
It may be for no reason, but I feel like that's a good
Smart, but they don't always connect to that we pick certain things for certain reasons.
Right.
So like if you pick something every day and you call safety out the next day, they're not gonna always necessarily realize that that's what happened.
Yeah. Let them
And
know.
so like just thinking
Let-
like intentionally thinking through our teaching, like you were saying, like making the next day about safety, you know, like that kind of working well with others or something, you know, like collaborative, like work. Yeah.
And what about tying the conversation to the community agreement?
Yeah. Yes.
Is helpful.
And like how we, yeah, so like what is our solution as a community? We need to come up with a solution, you know, like how can we come back to whatever your communities, you know, is that how do we come back to that?
And
Oh, I just wanted to say that I love the community agreement.
Yeah, it's a good,
Because we all like usually get all the kids to like say, how can we be safe? How can we be kind? And we write down what they said.
Yeah.
And then they sign it.
Yeah.
And then we're like, whoa, see your signature
Yeah.
right there.
That's great. We do that too with like our classroom. First
Yeah.
Then you're like, wait, you signed that though. You agreed to this, right? Like holding them accountable.
Yeah.
But when you hold them out for it, and they're like, wait, I did sign that, right? You're holding them accountable because they're like, you signed that, you agreed to this, but that's not what's happening. So how do we fix it? Giving them the chance to fix it, not just calling them out for doing it wrong.
not for a wrench, but I wonder about this, like opening this conversation to a group. Would it turn into like, well, Brandon or whoever is a bad singer, or like or like
Please target your questions. How do you feel? And that's all you're saying. One, like you may say 2 words about how you feel. If you're scared and you're sad or whatever. So like you put parameters around it so that it doesn't take it takes 5 hours, right? Like kids can talk forever and they can associate other things, but like yes, it feel for acknowledging what our solutions that we type back for community standards. How do we come back and pick up and continue on without ignoring the death? Right. Yeah. That's a tough one. Restorative is hard. Yeah. All right. So this is one we talked about. And this is kind of a heavy one, so I kind of left it for last. A student is talking about killing themselves or another person. There's levels to this. And so we start with a threat assessment, and you all probably don't have one, but so if it's like, it's so hard, right? Because it's in all this music that these kids listen to, it's normalized. This type of conversation is normalized in children, but also mental health, right? So how do we balance this of like, some kids may actually, and so what we typically do is if the kid, you can tell the varying levels of like, if a kid's like, hey, I'm gonna kill you with a Glock 19. That's a pretty big threat, right? Versus a kid saying, don't do that, or I'm gonna kill you. Right? Still though, both very severe conversations, but levels of severity, right? So thinking through as a person, right? So like you hear the kid say, well, don't do that or I'm gonna kill you. That's when you pull that kid aside, right? And of course we're gonna do an incident form, but like just that quick, like, hey, like I need you, you know, and like the kid that's probably threatening to kill you with a Glock 19 is like an immediate like parent phone call, right? So like having that kid be like, okay, that's not like telling them like that's not appropriate to say it's
With the community agreement.
And that's the community agreement thing,
It's
like
not
you tie
nice.
it back to that, right? Versus like if a kiddo locks himself in the bathroom and isn't going to, right? So that should be an
So we have literally had this happen.
Yes, and that's why I'm bringing it up. An immediate phone call to parents, 811. 811 is the suicide hotline. Have them call the parents immediately.
Have them call it.
They can call it?
Have the kid call it if they have their phone or whatever. Like let's say they grab their phone, run out of the classroom. If they have something to call it, they're locked in the bathroom.
Okay.
If not, use someone else's cell phone to call it while you're on the phone. Yeah, however you want to do it. Just so that parent is on one line, kiddo is on the other line with 811. And then figure out how you want to solve it from there. 811 is a great resource. They're great about talking to kids through those types of things. most of the time in the past, we've noticed parents will come get their kiddos, but just, I know that is such a severe thing, and it just kind of varies the level of what's happening, right? Like, the kiddo that's in first grade that says don't do that or I'm gonna kill you is like a quick conversation. Of course, parents have to know it has to be written up, right? But that's a different level than like thinking about our older kiddos.
A tall middle schooler, high schooler, and
mental health is very real, and it's like a very real thing that they could be saying. So that this is a hard one. It kind of just varies on the level. Definitely for sure that parents don't immediate. Yeah. Even for the little ones that like say like I'm gonna kill you and like we call. We don't like anything to do with killing. Yeah. Each other, like parents are immediate. If it's really threatening, 811 right away. Like we don't hesitate. That's what we're doing.
And when we're devising scenes or doing improv, and kids are always going to violence first into the story, and I always say there are no guns in my classroom.
Yep.
I mean, I'm all fine with a lightsaber duel, but there's no guns in my classroom, period.
Yeah.
And I don't care that Star Wars has both blasters and sabers.
Guns, bombs.
Yeah.
All those video
So
games.
I mean it's so accessible to these kids, right? I mean kindergartners are playing Roblox where they can access it, right? Anyone can. Right. So they're accessing all these things, and so just thinking about how you want to set that up to like for your own classroom, but like what? So like I would just say school rules. We're not talking about bombs. We're not talking about guns. We're not talking about we're killing people. We're not using swear. Like just kind of make it a community standard that we don't talk about those things. And
on the flip side is when your subject matter is the spooky, dark musicals like Addams Family and Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
One, we probably aren't going to choose to sing Dead Mom
No.
as a group, probably. It's fair. But in Addams Family, there, like it's a whole litany of how all the ancestors died, and
that's different, right? Than the kid saying that I'm going to kill myself,
Yeah.
right? So there's that line of like we don't like there's like we don't threaten, we don't like they know that being schools. So
I know for myself, I love playing one word story because it helps their imagination, but I always set the expectation, and this might help Nathan, is my students love death, and I always set one person dies in the story, we don't get explicit about it. You could say, and they died, instead of going further into detail that I've had before. I'm like, and then I'm like, well, this is too far. And I don't like talking about I'm like, we don't need to go into detail. And then they died from the poison, whatever that is. So that way it doesn't go into detail of like.
Yeah. And you can just say use school appropriate language.
Right.
They know what that means. They in school, we hammer that all the time.
Right.
They know that swear words and this and that. That's talking about how someone we can talk about who goes out, like of course, but like the whole we don't need to write a horror scene.
Right.
Type of So.
Yeah. And if you are doing something that has if you're doing Beetlejuice camp, we can help you pick songs. We can help you we need to change 2 words in this line. We can help you do that. And then just being smart. You all have good common sense and know many musical theater songs.
And then giving context to the songs, right?
Yes.
I think that is part of the lesson plan, right? If it is bringing up topics that are sensitive, how do we make that a learning opportunity?
It's interesting because a lot of times the students who gravitate towards the darker subject matter, not always, some of them that's just who they are, but a lot of times they're ready for the conversations of why they are attracted to the darker subject matter.
Yes.
And so you can talk about how that fits into the overall, where is it okay to have these sorts of conversations? Yes. Who is it okay to have these conversations with? You got to know contextually who you can talk to about these sort of things, because it's not everybody.
And some of that is related to trauma too. It may be trauma we don't know. Oftentimes, I'll hear that from somebody, and then I'm calling a parent. I'm like, "Hey, so your kid said this in class today." And they're like, "Yeah, so this and this and this has recently happened." And you're like, "Okay, sharing that with me is helpful." So just anything so if you want to send out the survey early, how can you help? That would be great information to know. I know some people are very private, but when working with children, it comes out, right? Kids have no self-worth. And so they just thinking about maybe that's where you reach out to the parent connect and say, hey, this happened today, but I'm wondering about this. So something happened outside, just making it more of not this intense conversation of if it's not an intense situation, right? using that to connect with them to be like, hey, can we share some more? Like, did something happen? Like, just using that as the gateway to get more. Okay. I think that's, I left time for questions. And then if you want to just scroll to the end one, I put my cell phone in my email at the last slide. If you want to take a picture, feel free to text me if you need help. Email me if you need help. I'm happy to help.
Yes, thank you.
So hopefully that helps kind of give you all strategies and like think about how it works at school and like how it's incorporated here and like kind of help. Any other questions?
Oh, I have a question, but I can wait until people have answered them in person as well.
So if anyone wants to check out the space, who doesn't know where certain classrooms are, class supplies, anything like that, I can take people on a loop. Happy to do that, answer questions along the way.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Marguerite, ask your question.
Good question.
Hi, thanks so much. So this is related to the conversation that we were just having around kind of like threats of harm and things like that. This is relatively specific, but I see it happen a lot in kind of 3rd through 5th, 3rd through 6th, like tableau work, where they do like a tableau of harm and wanting to like I cut you down with my sword, or like I like stabbing and things like that. So I also say no weapons in class. And I'm just curious how you would have that conversation, because I've had that conversation and then it's disregarded, and then we have to go back to community agreement and we have to kind of repair in real time. And it's also become a thing where we like have the conversation every week, and I'm just curious, anything that you'd say to that? Would it be a solution like to stop playing that specific game? Would it be kind of playing it by ear in different classes? But yeah, specifically when, as they're devising scene work, they start to like want to harm each other, what would you do either in prevention or repair of that?
So typically what I do is I like just sit them down and have like a conversation of like, okay, I'm noticing that this is what's happening. Like we've talked about this community agreement, like that we're not doing that. Oh, you want me to move over here? Okay, I'll move over here. So I typically like bring it back to like, okay, this is our community agreement. We agreed not to do this. Like, if this continues, we're gonna have to do something else. And so just giving them that like final warning of like, we've talked about this, we've done this, like this is your final warning. And typically they're like, oh, okay, I don't want to do something else, so I will make it appropriate.
And do you put it right into the community agreement from the first day?
Got it.
To me, yeah, we talk about like no guns or things like that. I have gotten into a place where like if it's Wizard or Star Wars, things like that, where like maybe the wand is an instrument of harm, or maybe there's like a lightsaber. So that's where I think I've gone wrong as a teacher, where I've like opened up the door to more things that they can use. But we do say like no guns.
Yes and them. I think you can yes and them and say for each scene there can only be one. Each tableau, there can only be one moment of harm.
Yeah.
So it's not everybody.
Yeah.
There's only one. And the first 2 people get up there and act it out, and everything else has to fill in the rest of the scene.
Yeah.
Okay.
So put limitations on it. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Welcome. Do you have any more questions?
That was kind of my big one that I kind of run into with tableau work and things like that. But yeah, thank you.
Welcome. You're welcome.
All right. Thanks, Marguerite. I think we're going to stop the recording and hang up.
Awesome. Thanks again, Janet, for letting me zoom in.
Absolutely.
All right, bye, everybody.
Okay, I'm working at this from an angle and I'm really confused. Okay, bye.
Every time she came,